why does he look like that? But
Why is his
I
butthole drawn?
well, it's not. No, it's not about the butthole because I know that's like a
Yeah, because I was gonna say
Japanese.
that's a common thing in a lot of.
For some reason, Japanese people think that dog buttholes are cute. I don't get it, but at least like that's coming from somewhere. But why do they also make him thick? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of the Seasonal Discharge. Today, we are talking about the spring 2024 anime season. I am joined by Coco, or Tamika likes to draw.
That is me.
And the first show we're going to be talking about is Kaiju number 8. Can I just say, oh my god, that was so fucking good. That was so hype.
So this show takes place in well, it takes place in Japan, in a version of Japan that is prone to kaiju attacks.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a fact of life for them. Just like, yep, kaiju attacks.
Basically, just imagine like every other day, like Godzilla just like shows up and it's like, oh, well, guess we gotta leave town because fucking Godzilla's here and fucking
Yeah.
doing doing all that shit. When kaijus show up, they have this squad called the Survey Corps. I mean, the Defense Force. Uh, and their job is to deal with the kaiju. It's funny because I actually thought that this was gonna be like a mech show, but it's actually not. It's like
Thank God.
humans actually deal with these giant ass monsters and
It
kill
is
them.
it is literally just modern Attack on Titan in terms of like
Yeah,
the
it
setup.
pretty much, yeah. Albeit a little less edgy, I guess. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's more down to earth.
yeah, it's more down to earth, a fair bit more lighthearted. So we follow this guy. Wait, did we get his name? I missed his name. I always forget the characters' names when we do these. But the main character is a guy who, when he was a kid, aspired to join the
His
defense
name
force.
is Afka.
Oh, Kafka, right. Like Dr. Kafka from Spider-Man, right. And he aspired to join the Defense Force, but over time, he just sort of ended up losing the drive to do it. And he ended up being, well, I mean, before the events of the episode revealed that actually they changed the age limit, so now he can do it. Before he kind of gave up, and then he realized his chance had passed when he'd gotten too old to really consider it anymore.
Yeah. We don't know exactly what happened, but he said he reached his limit.
Yeah. So he ended up joining the cleanup crew, where their job is to deal with the aftermath of when the monsters attack. They like cut him up. Who knows what they do afterwards? and and you have this scene where they have to like cut up the intestines, and they're not eager to do that at
Yeah,
all
that was
because
disgusting. It
they're just
seems like
filled up
the
with shit.
the insides of these kaiju, it's like poisonous or something. Like one of them gets like a splash of the blood on them and it like gives them severe burns on their leg.
I actually thought the implication was that that shit is just really fucking hot.
It could be too. But in
Yeah,
any case, it's hard to deal with.
yeah,
I guess that's another parallel to Attack on Titan, right? The steaming titans.
yeah. That is true. But yeah, the main character is like dissatisfied with like his his place in all of this. He aspires for greater things, but at the same time, you know, he feels like he can't really do. Well, I mean, I guess as far as he's aware, he can't actually because he's too old now. And that's when he gets introduced to this other younger guy who also is starting up through cleanup duty, but is aspiring to also eventually join the defense force. Oh, also, I guess I skipped over the fact that he made a promise to like his childhood friend to both join the defense force,
He said, "I'm gonna kill them all."
like Aaron did.
Yes.
And the childhood friend ended up making it in, and she's like one of the most like badass members of the defense force. I think her name was like Mia or something.
Me, Casa.
Mi- Oh my God. The childhood friend being more badass, the female childhood friend being more badass than the protagonist. Uh, and they have, well, not really, they're not similar at all, but the names. But there's quite a few parallels there. But yeah, that's the general uh like setup of the show. And then by the end of the first episode,
Before we get into the end of the episode, I just want to say, like, uh, go watch it. Just go watch it. At least from me, I heartily recommend it. It's really good.
well, I was gonna say before getting to the actual ending of the episode, I was gonna describe the relationship with the guy that he is sort of like having to watch over because he's the new guy. It starts off a bit standoffish. Is that the
Yeah,
term I'm
the
looking
the
for?
new guy is kind of looking down on him for giving up on his dream.
But then over the course of like working together, they develop a respect for each other. And then I guess they bond over a near-death experience where they both almost get killed by a kaiju during their cleanup duty. And it was pretty cool. And then
Oh,
at the
that scene was so good. It had my heart pounding. Oh my God, the way and like it's the stakes are so high because I really wasn't sure if they were gonna kill him off.
Oh, what, did you think the guy was like that guy was gonna die and then like the white-haired guy would become the main
Yeah.
character?
Yeah, I thought it seemed so possible that it was gonna be like a fake out.
Especially right when when he's about to bite, when the monster's about to bite him, like you see the mouth like right over Kafka.
Yeah, yeah. I thought like when he had his leg broken and he was on the ground, it happened then. I was fully prepared for him to just die there.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe even like the white-haired guy comes back and he like tries to stop it, but he's too late or something. You know,
Yeah.
Reno is apparently his name.
But at the end of the well, I guess this is a bit of a spoiler, so go watch that if you don't get
Yeah.
spoiled. At the end of the first episode, the main character gets possessed by a kaiju and then turns into a kaiju himself, which is like the very last Attack on Titan parallel, which is that he becomes he's
It's
probably going to become one of the most useful members of the defense force by the fact that he has the ability to turn into the things they're trying to kill.
it's so weird though because like it comes off as like almost like a parasite type thing as in the anime. Uh
Yeah.
the difference is it's not like he like something goes wrong. It's like he just gets possessed by a kaiju, but then I guess he's like fully in control of his body.
Yeah,
Like why
he's
did
pretty
that
much
weird
himself.
why did it do that?
Well, it said found you, so it was very clearly like looking for him
Oh,
specifically. Yeah.
that is
So
so interesting.
I'm assuming we're gonna learn more about that as the story goes on. But it seemed like it set out specifically with the intent of finding Kefka.
Oh, it's so good. I want to watch more. It's the kaiju number 8 is like I think what makes this
You
and
know what Kefka number 8 actually kind of reminded me. I forgot to say this earlier because I wanted to say it.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of it's like a better version of Decadence. Because
Oh,
Decadence is
I was thinking of Decadence too. That's interesting.
yeah, because like Decadence is also a show that has like like the whole like Survey Corps thing, like Attack on Titan, but then there's
Yeah.
also like the cleanup crew thing as well. And the main character starts out as part of the, well, not necessarily like cleanup crew. Their job is to like cut up the monsters to turn them into food that can be eaten. Which is funny because I remarked while we were watching this that the way that they animate the monsters being cut up, they make it look like that like it's an animation of like meat being cut up in like a cooking anime or something. The way they draw like the insides, I don't know.
It did look like that, but I also can't believe you said it looked delicious because as we were watching that same scene and as you were saying that, I was just like thinking about how ill I was starting to feel watching them because it was like a little too realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see the parallel there. I and that's good because Decadence was really good until it stopped being good and became really bad.
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say is oh also that reminds me, the art style of this is like really familiar. It's like
Oh,
really shonen-y. It reminds me of
the art
something.
style of this, okay, so I was gonna mention this when I talk about the staff, but the art style initially, it kind of reminded me of like especially the way the characters' mouths are drawn, their eyes, and even the way they like their expressions are animated. It
Hmm.
reminded me like an awful lot of Naruto Shippuden or like Boruto, and I was
Yeah,
thinking
I was thinking that a little
and I was
bit.
thinking maybe there's like some staff overlap here. It also kind of reminded me a little bit of Jigo Karaku. Of course, there is no staff overlap between this show and Naruto, but the director of this show, wait, what was his name? The director of this show did work on Hell's Paradise. Shigeyuki Miya. Yeah, he worked on Hell's Paradise, Vinland Saga, but the the two things that kind of like stood out to me a little bit were Bleach and Sonic X. The fuck? So I was like, okay, that's weird. Oh yeah, but he also worked on Standalone Complex and the 90s version of Hunter x Hunter. Oh, but incidentally, this show actually has two directors, and the other director, uh, Tomomi Kamiya, worked on Frieren, Chainsaw Man, Mob Season 3, Jujutsu Kaisen, and of course, appropriately, Attack on Titan. So, you know,
Man, no wonder this show, everything about it is so good. It's stacked. No, that's what I was gonna say earlier though, is that like what's truly remarkable about the show is that like beyond just like having like a great setup,
mhm.
I c- I could go on about all of that. Great setup, great story thus far. It looks amazing.
Yeah, the animation's pretty good.
Oh my God. And like so much of like the city shots and stuff that like would in any other anime would be CG.
Yeah,
Was
there was actually a lot
perfectly
of like
animated.
there was a couple animation cuts in this that you wouldn't typically expect to be hand drawn. Like at the very start of the episode, they show like a panning shot where the camera like zooms out
Yeah.
from inside the helicopter out to like a shot of the city and then like into like a zooming into the kaiju monster. And I think that was all hand drawn. And like you just know that like in any other circumstance that like at the very least the cockpit of the helicopter would
Yeah.
have been CG. So yeah, there's quite a bit of effort going into this.
Even like the music, I it really stuck out to me that like in the beginning, when they're showing like the kaiju, we're getting like this really like fast. A lot of the rhythms, there's like this really fast uh tempo to it that gave it like this frantic, intense feeling. Later, like some like they broke out like the sax and stuff. It really well scored. it's it's not irregular to get any one of these things, but when you just put it all together, that's like such a rare treat.
Mhm.
It- I don't know. It just works. It all just works.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm actually very curious to see where this story goes from the end of the first episode.
Yeah, what a great hook.
Oh, actually, I hadn't written this down, but I did look up the series composer of this show, series composition. I forget if when they say series composition, are they talking about the soundtrack or
Uh,
but either way, this guy has worked on a lot of noticeable stuff as well. He worked on Witch from Mercury. There was someone else, I think it was the character designer, but this guy also worked on the Golden Age movies. Oh, and funnily enough, he worked on Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, which, uh, listen, if we want to talk about like having like similarities to Attack on Titan, obviously this beats Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress in every way possible because this show feels like it's its own thing despite the comparisons you can make. Whereas from the little that I do know about Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, it's just like a literal ripoff of Attack on Titan, right down to the kind of music it has. You know, the main character's personality is one to one matched with Aaron's. It's yeah,
yeah, I've heard that about Weaponary.
yeah. Although
Who,
I
who did
do
who did
intend.
you say that I googled it and Google said Yuta Bando?
Well, the series composer for the show.
Yeah,
Um, a guy called Ichiro Ukuchi.
that must be something different then.
Yeah, I don't think it's like to do with the soundtrack, no.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Uh,
seeing that this guy also does like script writing. This guy has also come up with like the original plots for quite a few movies too. So I don't think it's to do with like the music and stuff. But yeah, all that to say, oh, he also worked on Code Geass and Devilman Crybaby. So yeah, the show
this
has.
composer is surprisingly he's only got 6 credits starting 6 years ago.
What shows did he work on?
I haven't even heard of any of these. Bell, to
Oh,
Toa,
Is Belle the
to,
one with the pink hair or whatever?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Towaka Oma Medo and her 3 ex-husbands. Is that a movie? What is this? Uh, it comes. Most of these aren't even like. I see a lot of sixes.
Oh shit, the art director or one of them is a person called Hisako Akagi, and they worked on Mushoku Tensei and Jujutsu Kaisen. And they also
Nice.
worked on what's it called? Well, actually I haven't seen the show, but I really want to, of Fena, the Pirate Princess. But yeah.
I've not heard of that.
No, it was one of the seasonals that I wanted to watch way back when, but we didn't do, I didn't watch it.
Hmm. Well, in any case, 8 out of 10 for Kaiju number 8. But not really. I'd actually give it like a 9.
But yeah, I agree. It's pretty good. This is actually one of the shows that I wanted to watch this season because I wanted to read the manga. Because a lot of shows that I want to read the manga of are getting animated adaptations. So
Actually, hadn't even heard of this until this
I
season.
I only found out about this because sometimes when I like the reason why my plan to list on AniList is so fucking long is because sometimes I'll look at some of the manga that I read and go in the recommended. Um, and Kaiju number 8 was one of the manga that were listed. I can't remember under which manga, but yeah. So that's the only reason I even know what this is.
Well, in any case, I'm thankful that we're doing the seasonal discharge this season because we almost didn't.
Oh wait, what? Is this based on a light novel? Oh no, it's not. The light novel is a side story.
I'm glad that you suggested we watch this because if we hadn't done any of that, I probably would have just ended up watching the isekai for this season and missed out on this show, which is definitely better than any of the isekai this season.
Yes.
Speaking of isekai, I was reincarnated as the seventh prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability.
Yes. The person who made this clearly went to the light novel school of absurdly long titles. But this isn't one of the longest. There's definitely been worse, but you know.
It's pretty much par for the course with these guys. I think we learned that the reason they have those super long titles is it's like an artifact of the light novel websites or something. It's like how they do clickbait.
I guess that makes sense.
Do you want to summarize this one or should I?
You can summarize it because I don't think I'd be able to.
Bruh.
The only thing I have to say is this is a show that I heard about on Twitter, I think before you told me that you'd read the manga, because people were remarking about the design of this character and of the main character, and people were like, "What the what?" Because the character is a Shota. Uh, if I were to guess, probably roughly around the ballpark of like 10, 13. But like,
what do you have against dummy thick children, Coco? That
yeah,
is
the
fat
artist
phobic.
has gone out of their way to make this pretty curvaceous femboy Shota, if you will. And listen, I don't disapprove, but I don't approve either.
It's funny because it really is so much worse in the manga.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that I was gonna bring up, is I remember you telling me that like it's way more.
They have like some detailed ass shots
I
of
don't know,
this
man. That sounds
child.
like a manga worth reading. I'm kidding.
Your reputation precedes you. Anyway, I can't believe you don't remember this because we literally just watched it. But it's in terms of like as a beginning, it's not that unconventional for an isekai.
Oh, actually, that is one thing I wanted to mention, is that I guess this technically isn't one. I thought this show was gonna be like on like some Mushoku Tensei type stuff, and it's kind of similar, but like also like not really,
Yeah,
because the character is not from another world. The character is simply reborn in the fantasy world that they're already in. They got killed by the elite because they were making fun of him for being a weak peasant magician.
I think it's a really striking way to open that they show his ass getting killed by this like noble magician, and the noble magician is just basically just saying like, "You suck. You don't have noble blood, so you suck at magic. Get fucked." And then he gets burned alive, and we see his internal monologue as he's getting burned alive, like, "Yeah, this is so sick. I love magic."
Yeah, he's a magic file,
Yeah.
a spellcaster file. I don't know.
He definitely he likes magic a little too much.
I think that actually like gets him going somewhat based
he
on some
he
of the later
definitely
things.
looks like he's getting horny for magic whenever magic stuff is happening.
Like during that fight later on in the episode with the Grim guy,
Yeah.
Grim, and he's
Yeah.
like licking his finger after he like purposefully
Oh,
bent it by dipping it into the into the magic flames or whatever.
yeah. That was that was a little bit graphic.
Yeah.
It's like you can see like his fingers like shredded by the
His
spell, and
skin's just like falling off and
yeah, and then
he's all
he
bloody.
licks his finger essentially.
Yeah.
What I like about it is that in some ways, obviously, it's by the numbers. Like you have like the standard. He's the prince. I have an isekai bingo card I'm working on, and I bet you could get if not a bingo, at least a good chunk of the bingo card
No,
filled
he
out on this.
definitely fits I mean, having a harem and also being reborn as someone that is
Yeah,
insanely OP.
he's got the a lot of the archetypes are here.
Yeah.
The yandere sword master teacher archetype that I hate is
Oh, I
here.
thought that was more of I got more of a kudere vibe, but I guess Yandere is probably more
What's
kind of
a kudere?
a kudere is or kuldere is like the sort of they're like kind of like the deadpan one, the one who's like a little bit more quiet and
No,
serious.
no, she's a yandere.
Uh,
You just haven't seen enough of the show.
ah, I
She's
see.
definitely God, I hate characters like that that she's
Well,
like
she's
all
definitely
possessive.
madly in love with this character.
Yeah.
Like, and they had a training scene where she's like teaching him how to sword fight. I was actually like kind of surprised by how well, I mean, this whole show actually animation wise looks pretty good. Um, and that action scene was actually pretty well animated. I wasn't expecting that. As it turns out, that's because this show actually does have a dedicated action director. Although he hasn't worked on much, but some of the shows he's worked on are definitely noteworthy. Like he's worked on Tokyo Revengers and Vinland Saga. I imagine that's part of the reason why the action is, good.
Yeah, those are uh, well received shows. When I first watched this episode, because this was my second watch,
Hmm.
uh, I wasn't like that impressed. What I remember was it struck me that Grim, the demon that shows up later, was not an ugly CG demon. I was like
Oh yeah.
fully expecting it.
Especially because there's CG. Like see at the start of the episode where they like do like a panning shot across like the kingdom or whatever. And I
Hmm.
thought that didn't look great.
Yeah, it looked terrible. But I mean, if you're gonna use CG, I guess that's the time to do it.
Yeah, that's usually how they use it is for like those kinds of complicated like camera movements that are hard to do in 2D.
Well, the problem is so many isekai nowadays will just don't want to draw a dragon.
Oh man, I saw this clip on Twitter. I should have like saved it or like sent it in the server. There was this clip of this one anime, I think it's from this season, I honestly don't know, where like it's a guy and a girl and like like a CGI wolf comes out and it just looks so bad because it really stands out. And then like typically when this happens, you don't see like the 3D elements and the 2D elements like really interact. Um but like it just like in this specific scene, it was like more highlighted just how much this CG wolf like stands out because it like goes and bites his arm. You see this like CG wolf next to like this 2D like hand-drawn guy. And what made it even worse was they didn't even try to make it look like the wolf was actually like opening its mouth to like bite his arm. It's just like there. It looks terrible.
Nice.
That's unacceptable. That shouldn't even be allowed. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, they're definitely like I think some of those animators are just a little bit done with it. They're like, please stop making us animate this trash. We don't even give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
That's a joke. Don't cancel me.
I imagine there's some animators who are like, please don't make us do this. And they're like, no, this is the like higher ups are like, no, this is a good cost cutting measure. Put in put in the shit fucking CGI monster.
Yeah, I could see that. It's kind of like how a lot of like Western companies are shoving the AI shit in their stuff, even though like the technology is clearly not ready.
Yeah,
You
pretty
just
much.
know it's not like there are artists who are like, yes, I'm so hyped to to use like an uncanny valley.
That's what I was gonna say is that like I know a lot of the time like many animators are like, the standards of the industry are not high. But I imagine like the people behind this, I mean, it usually depends on the person, of course, but I imagine they don't like set out to like they don't want to put out a shit product, you know?
Yeah.
Like considering that the rest of this anime looks good, well, that anime, whatever. I don't know. It's just I can't imagine them being like, let's just put in this shit thing that really stands out when we're gonna put in effort in like everything else.
To some extent I can be forgiving of it
Hmm.
because I do appreciate that there are 8 isekai for me to enjoy every season. If having a really ugly ass CG dragon, or in this case, a quick shot of a CG town that's not even that offensive, is the
Yeah,
cost of that, I will gladly pay it. What I like about this isekai is even though in a lot of ways it's pretty derivative, like most isekai,
yeah,
it
that's the
does
nature of the genre at this point.
yeah. It does have some things that make it feel really different. Even though the protagonist is super overpowered, it's not used in the same way that you see it in other isekai.
Yeah, like when it gets into the training exercise with the teacher, he still loses and is at a disadvantage. He doesn't just like totally overpower her.
That's not that abnormal for like that's kind of a different different trope, but
Mm-hmm.
like having a sword teacher that like trains you really hard is definitely a thing that happens in a lot of these
Oh,
reincarnated as a baby ones.
I guess
But
I'm thinking more of something like Sword Art Online, where like Kirito is so fucking good that he's like the one that teaches other people.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
usually that part comes later. Like they get like the super training from like the amazing sword master and the cool mage and whatnot, and then we skip to them being adults, and then we get like the way it's usually used is they have the arrogant asshole come in and be like, huh, you, I bet you can't even swing a sword, and then he's like, what about this? And he swings a sword really good. He's
Yeah.
like, ah, oh, this anime, Seventh Prince. Se-
I just call it Shota Isekai.
I was reincarnated as the Seventh Prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability.
Yeah.
Uh, it's less about like the whole proving the haters wrong, proving the doubters wrong. It's more just about like the entertainment value of just seeing how absurd this character can get.
But kind of like something like Marshall.
I would compare it to something like Marshall. Obviously, Marshall is better, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think the appeal is similar.
But Marshall doesn't have fanboy Shotas. There's no way that can be bad. No, I'm kidding. Go
True, but it does have a lolly. So,
on.
oh wait, does Marshall have a femboy?
I mean, if that is becoming a new reoccurring trope in anime, I am here for it.
The main thing I like about this anime is, or the manga at least, it hasn't gotten that far into the anime, is like the magic system and actually like caring about the magic system and the power scaling and stuff. Like, even though the main character is ridiculously OP, they still like take the time to let him like learn how to do new things instead of just like,
Yeah, he isn't just born with the knowledge of all magic. It seems
yeah,
like the fact that he's a character that is interested in learning magic is part of the character. You know, like even when he dies, is like, oh, if I had one wish, it'd be to like learn uh magic and stuff.
yeah.
So even though he's like super overpowered, he still has to learn, and he is like super curious and loves reading books about magic. You know, he's born into a wealthy family that has like a gigantic library for all these magic books for him to read and learn, practice spellcasting.
So often it feels like an excuse just to get the main character OP so he can show off how OP he is, and they
The
don't
power
actually
fantasy.
care about the process,
Hmm.
which is why I tend to be more drawn to manhwa because manhwa are better about not doing that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, one thing that thought of that was like kind of funny. It's not really a sincere criticism, like a genuine criticism. It's like
Yeah.
the nobles are like, yeah, you need like genetics and talent to be good at magic. And typically, when you have a story where characters say something like that, a lot of the time the story will like be like, nah, the character is gonna prove them wrong. So there's like a few stories where they do that. You know, like Dragon Ball, before Goku turned out to be a Saiyan. Naruto, before he turned out to be descended from a god. Uh,
Right.
One Piece, before he also turned out to have like, anyway.
Yeah.
uh,
Pretty much every good story has to ruin it eventually with some Destiny piece bullshit. I
yeah.
feel like pretty much every major shonen does that. Maybe not Hunter x Hunter.
Well, I mean, the closest Hunter x Hunter gets to doing that is like him being the son of like a pretty well-known hunter, and that's it.
Yeah, but he doesn't even use Gin to like get.
No, I mean more like in a similar sense, because some people will argue, oh, maybe there is like a bit of a genetic factor there, but the point I was trying to make with this one is like, it does not do that. It's just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it maybe later on, but like, it's like, yeah, we're not really interested in like disproving that. We're actually gonna have the main character just be born with the exact genetics he needs to be an overpowered magician.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Okay, this isn't solo leveling, so obviously I shouldn't criticize it for doing that because it's obviously not what this story is about. So
Yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah,
Um yeah, I could see how it could be seen as like problematic, but
Yeah.
you know, it's an isekai. There's a lot of problematic shit here. We were just talking about his pedophile
Oh
sword
yeah,
master teacher.
his nonce harem. He just like has a whole harem of like people that want to like bone him, and like there's a scene where they're all just like in the bath together, and I just found it really funny when he like sneaks off and is like, "Get these fucking pedophiles away from me."
I do love that he is Chad. Don't care.
Yeah, yeah, he's not like a typical like because most of the time they're like flustered or like, "Oh
Yeah.
man, the girls are so hot." But like he just doesn't care. He just wants his books. He's like a total fucking nerd. He just wants to go and he he's a legendary vol cell. All that matters is the all that matters is the books. It doesn't matter if the pussy is literally just right there, spreading itself open in front of his. Nah, it's time for me to go and fucking educate myself. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to learn.
King.
Yes.
That it's funny to say that because the second or third episode, a character is like he like takes down like a powerful monster, and a character's like, "Oh, did you do that for me?" And he's like, "No." I just thought it'd be fun.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, pretty good. There's some of the usual stuff that annoys me about certain isekai, but for the ways it's different, I quite enjoyed it. I'd give it like a strong 7 to a light 8.
Oh, right. I also forgot to mention that this anime is directed by a guy called Jin Tamamura, and I was perusing the contents of his work history, and oh boy, he worked on Arknights, which is an anime that we've covered. Although, I mean, one of the best things about that was the fact that it actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of visuals, that means that this anime is at least in safe hands. He also worked on a JoJo. I didn't write which one, so I can't remember. He also worked on Shiver of a Felled Knight, which, I mean, for all you can say about that show's story, is a pretty decent looking anime too. And he also worked on Tomo-chan. There's that. Oh, and the chief animation director of this worked on Ya Boy Kongmin and Psychopaths.
Hell yeah.
In terms of visuals, I mean, yeah, this show is probably in safe hands.
In like the latest episode, I think they have like a crazy fight happening right now. Uh that was when I went over the edge of being like, wait, this is really well animated.
Yeah.
This looks really good for an isekai.
Yeah. It is a pretty good looking show. We need more anime with femboy protagonists. But also don't shy away from making them adults.
Yes. Okay, can I just talk for a second about Monster?
Yeah.
So I was watching this isekai, and at first I was like, okay, this is pretty good. It's like it's pretty derivative of like slime isekai. It's like a dude gets reincarnated as a goblin, and then I guess just totally unrelated to his reincarnation,
But
he has the
not
power.
a short stack goblin, right? No, I'm kidding, go on.
Not a short step. He's very tall. He just has like independently of all that the power to gain the powers of the things he eats. So as like a goblin, he starts eating a lot of stuff and gets super OP. And they also like copied the forms from Slime Isekai, which is a thing I like. Uh
Maybe it's made by the same guy.
I doubt it. In in like the first or second episode, these are like some some anime goblins. They
Hmm.
like the like old generation of the goblins comes back to like their cave with female hostages, and they're like, hell yeah, it's time to rape some anime girls.
It
And
is not an isekai without.
so true. And the main character sees this happening, and he's like disgusted by it, so he like challenges the older generation and basically like seizes control of the tribe. And then when one of them like tries to like sneak sneak out to rape some of the girls, he catches them, and he's like, fuck that. And he hangs the older generation alive and like kills them slowly and painfully. Which, like, okay, sure. But then I could not believe that in the last episode I watched, they just have the main character start like drugging and raping characters. So I have to wonder, is it literally just that like, oh well
Wait,
that wasn't the main character, so that wasn't okay. But this is the
is
main
this
character.
like some fucking like redo of a healer type shit?
Well, it's funny because people
That instance of rape is not okay, but this instance of rape,
I was looking at the comments, the discourse in the comments, and literally some people are arguing like, well, redo of a healer is better than this because like it at least it like
he's assaulting
accept
people that assaulted him.
well at least it accepts that on some level the main character sucks or whatever. I haven't seen redo of a healer. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that was the show people were saying that of, but I think the most upsetting thing was that like my position has always been that like you can watch whatever deranged shit you want, and at the end of the day, as long as like you're willing to acknowledge that like it's just media, like I know this would be fucked up to do in real life, I'm just enjoying it as like a fantasy. That
Nah, bro. When I watch anime, I'm like, nah, everything that I'm seeing on this screen is okay to do in real life, dude.
that's generally my position, but and once again not beating the allegations. uh what's like really like fucks me up is when I see in the comments they're the people who are like, man, this is like so fucked up, I can't believe like he's doing all this shit. And then there's the people that come in and say like, well no, it's actually okay because they consented. Yes, he like drugged them and held them captive, but they eventually consented. So like it's not, and like plus like they tried to kill him first, so it's okay that he's doing this. It's like no, stop. just just say
I
like
think that's literally the same. Like that would be like if someone said it's okay that he rapes all those women in Redo of a Healer because he brainwashes them into liking him. So
yeah,
technically, under the state of being brainwashed, they are consenting.
yeah, no.
Incidentally, the person who directed this show actually is an episode director on Kaiju number 8.
What the hell?
They they directed episode 2. They also storyboarded episodes of Shangri-La Frontier.
So upsetting.
Yeah.
I would not say the show looks very good, by the way. It's very like gray. There's something about it that's very unpleasing to look at. I don't really care for the character designs either. Especially like the goblins are really creepy. They've got like these beady eyes, except for of course like the female goblins just look like they do the thing. You know the thing.
Where they just look like human girls.
Yeah, they just like look like green anime girls.
Bro.
Anyway, uh, two out of 10. I just wanted to mention that because it kind of pissed me off that like I was kind of enjoying it and then they just had to throw that in
Oh,
there.
well, the series compositor, I guess, wrote scripts on Gurren Lagann episodes 4, 14, and 25. There's a few people on. Oh shit, what the hell? He also wrote scripts on Evangelion.
That explains everything.
Bobby.
All right, next is Windbreaker. Windbreaker is about a sweet, sweet boy by the name of Haruka.
Oh, I thought it was Sakura.
Apparently not. Who has faced discrimination at the hands of people who are racist against OCs. And because of this, he's been totally alienated from anybody his whole life, but he's a great fighter. And he hears about this school that's like a town and delinquent school where everybody just beats each other up and strength is all that matters. So he's like, if I go here, it won't matter that I have heterochromia. I can just beat the shit out of people. But then he goes there, and he fights, he saves a girl from some thugs, and the girl is all grateful to him, and he's like, "What? You like me even though I have white hair?"
Yeah.
And then some more thugs attack, and the delinquents take out the thugs, and everyone clapped. And he realized that the town likes the delinquents because the delinquents beat up the real criminals, and they're actually heroes.
Now let's talk about how this show is actually really toxic because he's a social outcast and the only reason why they like him is purely transactional. It's because he's no, I'm kidding.
So what did you think of this show, Coco?
I thought that this was a pretty good first episode. Mainly for the action, if anything.
Oh yeah, it looked so good.
This show is pretty well animated. The action scenes, especially the part where he's like taking on all the thugs on his own, it's like
Yeah,
it's like so well done and so like choreographed.
yeah, really fluid. What really impressed me was at one point they have like one of those long takes where the camera's just panning around with no cuts as they're beating the shit out of each other. That was
Yeah.
like really impressive.
Yeah, and like they're not afraid to like be experimental and do all sorts of like dynamic camera angles. Like there's the first person camera shot
Mhm.
where it's it's almost like a first person fight, like like
Oh
Punch Out.
yeah, yeah, I noticed that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And just like punching them and beating the shit out of them.
It's like the Skyrim POV.
Yeah. The action in this is pretty good.
Yeah.
As for the story, I thought it was good too. I don't really have as much to say about this story though, except that meme I said before.
I noticed at the start of this they had like a little bit of CG, but it was like so well done that I almost couldn't even tell that it was CG.
Yeah. Well, the only noticeable instance of CG for me in this whole thing was like in the opening when they're doing like panning shots of them in the classroom and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was about it.
There was the one cut where he's like running towards this wasn't CG, but the one cut where he's like running towards the crowd of delinquents. That shot looked really bad because they looked like a cardboard cutout. They stretched it a little too far and it became really obvious that it was just a flat picture that they were rotating in 3D space.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, of like the plot as a whole, I'd say the show was all right. I agree with you that the visual presentation was easily like the best part. It looked amazing, but in terms of the story, uh, it made it hard to take seriously. That he's like really hamming it up. This is really serious to him that the world is against him for having a white streak of hair and heterochromia. And
I was gonna say, what it kind of reminds me of? I don't know if you've heard of this manga, the one that Masashi Kishimoto's brother made. It's 666 Satan is its Japanese name, and like OFMO parts Hunter.
yeah, that rings a bell. I don't
Yeah,
think I've seen that.
the main character of that
Oh,
finds
yeah.
himself with a very similar issue because of the hair thing.
Yeah, he has the exact same design.
Yeah. Did Windbreaker rip off? Nah. Well, you're saying he's like wallowing in it too much.
Yeah, it's like the
Like
thing
when
is,
you get like those people who are like depressed, maybe for like legitimate reasons, but internally they also exaggerate it just a little bit. Like when you look at how their
yeah.
life actually is, maybe it's not really that bad. Like it's
It,
bad, but not that bad.
yeah, it's just the fact that the way they're presenting it is like no person would ever talk to this character. And it seems like this is supposed to take place in the real world.
Yeah,
It's not like
definitely the real world.
not like an AU, it's just the real world.
It kind of reminds me of Toradora, where like people are like scared of Ryuji, I think his name is, because he has like pretty scary looking eyes. But like even he still has friends and like people that care about him.
he's like in a Naruto position, but Naruto was in the position he was because he had a freaking demon inside of him.
I actually thought that was going to be the same thing here because maybe that's why he looks the way he does. But then I realized, no, this anime is pretty grounded in reality for the most
Yeah.
part. There's not going to be any superpowers or anything, so he just like looks like that. And for what it's worth, like in real life, there are people who have skin conditions and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, there are people who are judgmental of them, but they absolutely still have like a social life and people who probably care about them and aren't as judgmental.
He was shocked that a person whose life he just saved was talking to him normally. He was expecting her to like see him and fall to the ground in horror or something.
Yeah, like he was telling a story about like oh I this guy dropped his wallet once, so I gave it to him, and the first thing he did was accuse me of pickpocketing him. So I guess this guy just rarely ever has positive experiences with people. So much so that like he's really like weirded out by it when it happens. Like after the confrontation at the end of the episode where like the rest of the students show up and they help him beat up those thugs, he's like surprised that like they want to like help him with his bruises and stuff. And he's like, "Ooh, I don't want anything to do with you." He's trying to do like a Hedgehog's dilemma type thing, pulling out the Evangelion words there where like he's so not used to people like being kind to him at all that he's sort of like trying to maintain his distance a little bit.
He is a massive tsundere.
But once he realizes that these people are like actually legit, there's no like ulterior motive and that there is like a chance for him to like get to meet people here, he like opens up a little bit by the end of the first episode.
He literally does the I don't like you or anything, Baka.
I only attacked that guy because his attitude was pissing me off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As he's blushing.
yeah.
Pretty funny. I think the root of my problem with this isn't that though. Like they're solely relying on that one gimmick to be like the core of the show. Like I was waiting for a different
Gonna
hook.
be like I don't know if that's gonna be like the main draw for like the rest of the series. I have a feeling this is gonna be one of those things where like once the main character is like fairly integrated among like the rest of the Windbreaker crew, that's the name of the gang that protects the town, his backstory will probably fade into the background and it'll probably just be about whatever adventures they get up to as the gang. The turf wars. Presumably they're gonna be fighting other schools or something, I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I agree, and I think that this is definitely a show that like I'm just talking about the first episode in a vacuum.
Oh yeah.
I would watch more, and I think it could easily get better for me. But just as like a first episode, our only hook is just that thing about him. And the Windbreakers, they don't really show their personalities at all.
The only thing they do is show them kick ass. And I suppose you can make inferences about their personalities based on their character designs and how they carry themselves. Like
Yeah.
you can kind of get that like the main guy is like the strong man type guy and the guy that had like not bowl cut but the white hair. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. You probably get the vibe that maybe that's the guy who takes himself like a bit more seriously than the rest of the crew or something.
Their character designs aren't like so interesting that I'm
Yeah,
like, ooh, what's this guy's deal?
yeah.
I more just saw them like, yep, those are some friendly delinquents.
Yeah.
So I mean, hopefully it gets better. And the thing is, like, in a world where the hair thing didn't bother me, maybe I would have loved this show, but it did.
Damn.
Yeah, I'll watch more of it at the very least.
Yeah, I am intrigued, especially because of the animation. The animation was pretty strong. The art style kind of reminded me a little bit of, I mean, I haven't actually seen this show, nor have I read the manga, but it did remind me a little bit of Tokyo Revengers and a little bit of JJK. I actually thought maybe the character designers from the show may have worked on those. That is not the case. Incidentally, is the studio that made this show is Cloverworks. And you know what? That would explain why the animation on the show is as good as it is, because they've actually done a lot of shows that look really good, like Bochi and Spy Family. And despite my personal grievances with how it looks, Dress Up Darling. So, this show is in some pretty safe hands. The director is a guy called Toshifumi Akai. I didn't write down what he actually did on Bochi, but he worked on Bochi and Spy Family and Darling in the Franxx, which is like, okay, dude, but
Darling in the Franks looks good, right?
yeah, it looks good. It looks, yeah. And he worked on Panty and Stalking and Toradora, which also look pretty good. Oh, I figured out that series composer I think has something mostly to do with like writing the scripts, I think. So the guy who is the series composer for this worked on Attack on Titan, JJK, Zom 100, and Mob Season 3. So maybe the writing will get maybe the writing. Well, actually, this is based on a manga, so whatever. It doesn't really matter who the scriptwriter is because they have to go off the manga script. So I guess it depends on whether or not the manga gets better later on and improves despite the gripes you have with the first episode.
I'm a little bit sad about like the presentation of the character designs though, because I mean, you comparing it to Tokyo Revengers, I was actually also thinking about that parallel, of course.
Hmm.
And I can't help but just think the characters in Tokyo Revengers look, I don't know if it's the way they're rendered or what, but they're so much more memorable in that anime than Windbreaker. But it's a shame because I was actually pretty hyped for this one because the promo art is so striking. I love the bright
The
green
green
and
one, yeah.
yeah.
Incidentally, the action director of this is a guy called Kazuyuki Asuka. And he worked on JJK, which, does have some pretty good looking action. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen clips of it, and the animation of the action in that show looks pretty impressive. He also worked on Chainsaw Man. Decent action there too. I know you've got your gripes with that show, particularly in regards to its art style, but and he also worked on Gurren Lagann, which I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen literally anything from that show, but I'm assuming with the amount of hype surrounding that show, the action is pretty well done there too.
It's a good looking show.
Yeah, so all that to say that like it explains why the action is as good as it is. The action director they have for this show is a guy who's worked on action shows that have pretty good action scenes, and I'm hoping, the action will remain that good for the rest of the series. I'm hoping it's not one of those moments where it's like, okay, we're gonna put our whole budget into like the first episode to like blow away the the viewers.
Ah, the Ruby Strat.
Yeah, I hope it's not that, because that would be quite upsetting. But I don't
Yeah.
think it is, because I mean the animation remained like mostly good for like all the other shows Cloverworks has worked on, right? Like Bochi and Dress Up Darling and stuff, right? So I haven't seen those to completion, so I don't know.
Yes, Dress Up Darling looks good all the way through. I need to finish Bochi.
That's pretty much all I have to say about that. Into my paused list it goes, never to be unpaused.
Ah, see, that's the difference between us. You might be more positive on this show, but I'm the one who's more likely to end up finishing it.
Yeah.
It was all right. I know I came off as kind of hard on it. It really wasn't bad. It's just, if I'm trying to find something to say about it, I don't have much to say beyond like it was good. It was all right, and here's why I felt it was just all right.
Yeah.
In terms of score, I'd probably give it like a light 7 to a strong 6 just from the first episode. Next up is Go Go Loser Ranger.
Go go loser ranger.
Yeah. Go Go Loser Ranger. It's set in a world much like Power Rangers. I know that's like the American bastardization
Whoa,
of
hold up, because actually, even though people call it a bastardization, Power Rangers is actually fairly respected not only in America but also Japan, a little bit.
huh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, like I know Power Rangers is like made by cutting up other Japanese shows and like dubbing over them.
Yeah, it's based on Sentai shows.
Yeah, it's like Super Sentai or something is what
No,
Power
I think
Rangers is dubbing.
I think Super Sentai is the one with that guy, like, you know, where he has like that V on his head.
Yeah.
I think it's based on that. I think that one is Super Sentai, but I don't know which is the footage. Or maybe you're right. I can't remember.
Okay, let's just Google it. Which show is Power Rangers? Oh yeah, Super Sentai.
I will say, despite this show having the name Go-Go Loser Ranger, that is not its actual English name. That is a localized title that I think it's Crunchyroll that has the distribution rights to this came up with. And its actual English name is Reject Ranger. I only know this because a bunch of people were complaining, you know, anime purists, a
Yeah.
bunch of people were complaining about it on Twitter. But also, if you look at like the list of names on its AniList profile, Reject Ranger is one of the names there. It's funny because when I first saw the name, I like assumed that this had some kind of association with Power Rangers or was like a parody of sorts. But no, there's no connection at all.
Well, I mean, it is a parody of sorts, but
Yeah, that's true.
it's clearly set in like a Power Rangers type world. There are the color coded Ranger guys. It's basically like episodic. They do like weekly fights against the invading monster guys like Power Rangers.
Yeah.
The monsters are basically a joke at this point. There's like no human casualties anymore. It's this commercialized spectacle where the people like watch in an arena as
Yeah.
the Rangers completely body these monsters.
Yeah, basically at one point they were like an actual threat, but then their like floating island was captured and their bosses were killed. And basically the Rangers decided to spare all the goons, I guess. Goon
It's like
squad.
a slow reveal throughout the episode that
Yeah.
as it goes on, we see more and more of like how not serious of a threat they are until yeah, towards the end, we get the reveal that the monsters just straight up made a deal with the Rangers.
Yeah, for their own survival.
Yeah, they're like a controlled opposition.
Mm. It's basically all spectacle to make the Rangers like look good.
Yeah.
They've basically been enslaved and allowed to live so long as they allow themselves to get beaten up. Incidentally, I guess they are immortal, but yeah, they basically let themselves be enslaved to get killed, quote unquote, over and over again in front of an audience. And I do believe not all of them are aware of the fact that this is like fixed.
Yeah, I wasn't totally clear on that because they're talking about it in when we like cut to the monsters having their meetings and stuff.
Hmm.
They're talking about it like everyone knows, but then at the same time the main character who is one of these monsters is like
Hmm.
now I know for sure now after
Well, no,
like
well, the thing that happened there is like in one of the scenes at like early on in the episode, one of the other monsters asks explicitly, "Hey, so like, do you know why the Rangers like let us live?" And like one of them says, "Oh, maybe it's because they realized they were outnumbered and that if they tried to fight us, we would like kill them or something." It wasn't really clear to me either because even though like that scene seemed to make it seem like some of them didn't know. I mean, there was that one scene where like because I believe the main character is Monster D or F.
I
I think
thought
I think he's Monster F and he's talking with Monster D and like he's like Monster D is trying to encourage Monster F to become the boss and like Monster F is like yeah, right. I'd never want to become boss if it means like having to purposefully lose all the
Coco,
time.
are you sure about that scene earlier? Because I feel like the scene you're talking about, it was the other way around. He was saying, "Why don't we like seriously fight them?" And they were like, "Well, like we'd get bodied. We're totally outnumbered."
Maybe I misunderstood. It sounded like they were talking about themselves. Maybe I misunderstood. I'm not sure. But it like I thought for sure that like in the end it was pretty clear that like very few of them know that they're going into this specifically just to get their ass handed to them. I was pretty confident about that until like the scene after the fight, where like they're like, "Oh, F disappeared." Another guy's just like, "Well, a lot of people do desert like the organization now that they know that we're just like going there to lose." So like, yeah, it really is like unclear whether or not like
I think they definitely know because like they they straight up all laugh at him when he's like talking about seriously fighting the humans.
Yeah. I don't know, it was really confusing. I couldn't tell.
I think you just got mixed up. I'm pretty sure maybe it's not like official, but they all at the very least
At the
it's an
very least,
open secret.
they know that at the very least they know they have no chance of winning. Whether or not they
Yeah.
know that they're actually going up there specifically with the intention of throwing a match
Yeah.
is the unclear part.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, I I really like this. It's a really fun and interesting premise. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always had like a soft spot for villain centric narratives. Not to brag, but I was kind of on the Megamind train before it was cool. There's just something fun about everyone loves a good villain. So
Yeah.
and like they really do a good job of like selling how even before they revealed that these guys aren't like legitimate villains anymore, you do feel like kind of bad for them because when they first come out, you just see like
Throwing like trash at them.
yeah, the audience is jeering at them and like throwing trash at them, and they show like close-ups of the characters.
They're visibly frustrated.
Yeah, that you can like hear them like grunting from getting like hit by the trash. It's just kind of humanizing. It makes you feel bad for them. So they do a really good job of getting you to empathize with these characters. It's just in general, it's just a more nuanced situation than like it's not necessarily like the Rangers are, at least for the time being, they don't seem to be outwardly like evil or anything. They're
Hmm.
just opportunistic and exploiting the monsters. And then the monsters like obviously aren't
It
good.
does feel a little bit like they've enslaved them a little bit.
Yeah. But the monsters did try to invade Earth and
Yeah.
like kill all humans or something. So where did the monsters that ran go? Did they just integrate into human society, or did they actually like escape somehow and leave the
I mean, I
planet?
guess they can because they have transformation powers. So
Yeah.
like some of them probably did. I actually thought that their appearance was like a costume at first. I guess it's not actually.
You know, the skull face thing on them moves. So
Yeah. Well, I assume that was maybe like a cartoon like logic thing. I
yeah.
actually do like how expressive they managed to make them
Yeah.
despite, like the quote unquote masks.
They're all in uniforms, but they actually like feel kind of distinct from each other.
Yeah, they have personality, body types,
Yeah.
different mannerisms. Because like I feel like a lot of the time, if you have like a bunch of goons like this, sometimes it's pretty hard to do that. Yeah, and I assume that they do integrate into like human society because they have like the ability to just transform into humans, like the main character does. We see him like just hanging out, talking to like surface dwellers, which I think they imply is a thing that you're technically not allowed to do, but
Yeah, presumably. But yeah, that's like the reveal at the end of the episode is our
he's the guy that we saw at the start going to
yeah.
watch the show.
He's this guy at the start was like our mechanism for being introduced to the Rangers because they're like trying to recruit him. And then at the end we get the reveal that oh that was the main character. He was in disguise.
I am actually kind of curious what the direction for this is going to be. Like, is he going to try and join the Rangers as the end of the episode seems to imply? Is this like a take him down from the inside kind of thing?
Well, I assume since it's called Go Go Loser Ranger that he
True.
is the loser ranger.
And he is quite a loser because he is very much out of shape. I actually thought that there was about to be like this fight scene where he fights the Rangers, but it turns out to be all in his head and he's like really out of shape and he's just like running really slowly towards the towards the Rangers and then he just proceeds to get his ass handed to him in one blow and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're doing too much. This wasn't part of the deal." And he does see, oh wait, they're actually humans that cheer for us in the background. Maybe it's not all. Well, I mean, it doesn't change his perspective as much
No,
as it
yeah,
did for
he
the other guy.
has when the
Yeah,
kid cheers for him, he's not like, yeah, cheer for me. The other guy was like that,
yeah,
but
the
he
other
sees that and he's like, I'm not your freaking monkey man. I'm not gonna dance for you.
not here to entertain you.
Yeah.
And then you get like these like like horrifying close-ups of the audience just like watching him for his amusement.
I love how creepy they made the less so the audience and more so the Rangers themselves. Like from the very start, every scene with them, they come off as so like there's just something off about them.
I mean, yeah, that kind of brings up the point that you mentioned earlier about whether or not they'll turn out to be like true antagonists, or like if this is going to be one of those kinds of stories where when he like joins the Ranger recruitment program, he'll like see things from their perspective, and it'll be like that whole thing where it's like, oh, we all just like misunderstand each other or something. I don't fucking know.
I don't think that's going to happen. The question is just whether it's going to turn out that the Rangers are like full on evil, like they've got some nefarious plot, or it's just going to be like a more of a
Oh, you mean like The Boys, where the heroes are actually villains the whole
yeah,
time?
yeah, exactly like the boys. Or if it's
Yeah.
going to be more of yeah, that's like a perfect parallel. Or if it's going to be like more of like Invader Zim or something where he's just kind of a villain, but no one takes him too seriously, and it's more just the entertainment value comes from watching him fail and being an asshole, getting comeuppance.
It definitely feels like it's meant to be like the show is trying to sort of go at it from an empathetic perspective with this guy though. The fact that like his people have been like subjugated and enslaved. So I am kind of wondering like what direction it's gonna go with that.
I'm definitely curious to watch more. See, this is how you do a hook. I want to know what happens. It's got me. It's got my blood pumping. You know.
On the subject of the animation though, I thought the animation in this show was good. I'm actually noticing that there hasn't been any stinkers yet.
Well, there was like a little bit of CG, but it kind of works because it
Yeah.
like invokes the feeling of like a cartoon.
I mean I don't think this was the intention, but it's almost like the oh, we have like the obviously like puppet monsters or costume monsters that they have in Sentai Power Rangers type stuff.
Yeah.
But instead it's like the animation equivalent where it's like, oh, you have this obviously like CG thing. I didn't think the CG with like the tiger monster was bad. Like they obviously still try to make it look 2D, and it is noticeable, but I've seen worse.
It's okay if you can tell something is CG. We've
Hmm.
had plenty of examples on this show of CG that's obvious CG. Like it still looks nice. It's pleasing to the eye. The problem with bad CG, truly bad CG, is when they just take like a model and it's like they don't even attempt to
So faded.
yeah, it's like they just used the default Blender shading and
Hmm.
superimposed it on this environment. It looks terrible. It's like really you couldn't have taken like the extra 5 minutes to figure out the shaders.
Yeah. No, it would cost too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, I actually thought the animation was good.
It was probably the well, no, I think maybe the Seventh Prince.
I think
No, I think
out of all the shows like we've seen so far, I think Windbreaker is definitely the one that's like visually impressed me the most so far.
I think for me it was Kaiju number 8. But no, I was gonna say I think this one looked the worst, but
Hmm.
it's kind of well there was some pretty impressive fight animation in Seventh Prince, but we did get that really ugly panning shot of the city. So
Yeah. But for the most part, I haven't seen like so far not anything as bad as some of the stuff we've seen before.
yeah,
I actually did look up the studio that did this show. It is Yoastar, and they're the ones who did Arknights, which, if you remember, it was actually a pretty good looking show. That was like its strong point. And now I'm kind of wondering because this studio has like, despite how good their shows look, they have like especially Arknights, that was really good looking. They actually have like a surprisingly small number of shows. Like it seems like the thing that they've worked on the most is like Azure Lane. So
sure.
Azure Lane. But maybe I'm kind of wondering, like, wow, this studio is putting out some good stuff. Why aren't more people like contracting them? Kind of weird.
Yeah. I can definitely see the resemblance between this and Arknights.
I also looked at the director too. the only thing of his that I've actually watched is Aras, but I mean I did recognize some other things that he was involved in, like Tiger and Bunny and Lupin the Third. Well, one of the movies anyway. I'm actually surprised that this show looks decent because Karas is like an OVA series. I mean, I'll say it's one of those things where like it does that thing where the art style is like made to be like really simple so that they can do more complex movements instead of like spending time on detail. But I do think it looks pretty bad. And I think if the person who probably contributes to this looking good is probably the assistant director because he's worked on Fruits Basket. Haven't seen it, but I know people like that show. He's worked on the Hunter x Hunter movies. I haven't seen those movies, but I know that the Hunter x Hunter series looks good for the most part. Steins Gate, Ava 1.0, Gurren Lagann, all good looking shows. So it doesn't surprise me that much that this looks good. Oh, and incidentally, because I wrote down the original creator, this guy he has actually created a bunch of like anime shows, but the one that I noticed that he worked on that's pretty popular is Quintessential Quintuplets, which I have not seen, but I do intend to. The thing that kind of caught my eye though was the fact that the original creator of Reject Ranger was actually an illustrator on Bakemonogatari, which is just like so random. There's a lot of people that I didn't mention this, but a lot of the people on the shows we've talked about previously this season have also done illustrations for Bakemonogatari. Kind of interesting.
Isn't that the one that's about making anime?
No, no. Bakemonogatari is you know that like really infamous scene where it's like the big brother like brushing the teeth of his little sister and
What the
like
hell?
it gets like weirdly horny, so like he's he's about to like grab her boob, but then like right before he does, like something happens. Yeah, it's like a whole franchise. It's a whole thing. I think the thing that it's known for the most is for how like pretty impressive its animation is. All that to say, director with fairly decent credit to his name, which would explain why the show is, okay looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good first episode. I give it like a 7 out of 10. Definitely excited to see where they take it though. But I will say, like, even though I was just knocking Windbreaker again for not having a very good hook compared to this, I do feel like Windbreaker has. If I was to bet which of those turn out to be good versus bad, I'd probably,
I mean, by the end,
yeah, like I'd probably bet higher on Windbreaker being good versus this like turning boring.
I mean, like the most curiosity like I have in regards to like this show is like what kind of angle they're planning on going with like the relationship between the main character and the Rangers.
Mhm.
But aside from that, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I think I was definitely more engaged by the first episode of Windbreaker. That's part of the reason why I was like, oh my God, am I even gonna have anything to say about this? But yeah,
I was engaged by Windbreaker, but in like a I'm distracted by the the thing.
yeah.
Versus this, I was just really intrigued. I thought the pacing of this was really good. So here's my prediction. I think that the Rangers are are not actually human, and the boss monsters killed the real Rangers and infiltrated them, and it's been the boss monsters this whole time.
That is quite the theory.
Yeah. Oh, also, I think you were thinking of
A game theory. Sorry.
yes, I think you were thinking of Common Rider earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next is what's it called?
Bartender, the Glass of God.
Yes.
Probably the most boring out of all of the shows that we've talked about so far, I think.
Yes. Do you want to summarize this one or should I?
Summarized, I was barely paying attention.
Okay, then I will summarize it because I it did have my attention. Basically, this is about I guess it's like a hotel bar. It's some sort of corporation, and they have a bar.
It is a hotel bar. They do say hotel.
So they're trying to find a bartender for their hotel bar. But the
Mm-hmm.
boss of this company for whatever reason, is like super picky, and they're going through the candidates, and he's like just nitpicking like the tiniest things about them and rejecting them over it.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like two employees, and he like sends them out on a hunt for the right bartender. Among like his demands is they need to be able to make the glass of God.
Yeah,
We don't really know what that means, but it kind of seems like the point is just that it's like a nebulous, I need the perfect
an
bartender.
exceptionally good drink.
Yeah. They're oh, by the way, this is like kind of a dream job for them because they're just going around to random bars and
Mm-hmm.
drinking on the job to try and find a
Yeah,
bartender.
taste testing.
Yeah. And as they're doing this, they encounter this guy sleeping on a park bench who's just kind of a hot mess. He doesn't know how to use a smartphone like at all. He like asks them for help answering his phone, which makes me wonder like how did he even get this phone in the first place? Did he steal it? And this guy leaves his library book. So they have his book. And then they feel like they've hit a wall. They can't find a single bartender. And then they run into him again and they find out that he's a bartender. They're like, wait, maybe. Nah. This dude's a hot mess. We're not gonna ask him to interview. But then they find out about they hear like a rumor or something about like a really talented bartender. They find this hole in the wall bar, two people in it, basically empty, and he's the bartender.
And he has a notable shift in demeanor and is so suave and cool and
He's fancy now because he's in his element. He like passes all the tests that the people in the interviews were failing just by accident. And the main girl, I guess, asks him to choose a drink for her, and he like perfectly chooses a drink. And they're like, "Oh shit, it's the glass of God or something. We gotta hire this guy." And that's the first episode.
yep, it was definitely a episode where things happened.
It had my attention in the first half, but I agree that like in the second half, it started to drag. There's like no music in this show, so there were so many scenes of just like slowly like
I think that is they probably are trying to go for a very laid back, um, relaxed
Iyashike.
feeling. Yeah. And I'm just saying, not friendly to my attention span at all.
Something
Uh,
you'd watch after a long day at work, maybe in the background.
this also does seem like the type of show that is made for someone who's like into the art of bartending.
Yeah, I was gonna say it occurred to me like the second we started watching this, we are literally the worst people to be reviewing this show because
Yeah.
we're both straight edge.
Yes, very much so. Although I actually did look up the author of this manga and because it's based on a manga,
Mhm.
and half the mangas that he's made are about bartending. Like literally every so I guess he really is in love with the craft. It kind of reminds me of like the creative Imo, where like he's so in love with making light novels that that's all he writes about. I guess this guy, maybe the guy was a former bartender himself, I don't fucking know, but like it seems like all his mangas are either about bartending or like running restaurants, and then he has like maybe two action-based mangas that he made prior to that.
Well, it definitely came off as knowledgeable about bar mixology. Is that from The Sims or is that a real term?
I have no idea. But listen, man, I admire the passion. It's like, oh, this is something I really like, so I'm gonna express my like for this through manga. There you go.
I wish there was a little bit more of that because I did think that was one of the more interesting parts of it. Like at the end where he's making the drink for her and she's like, "Oh, could it be like this or this or because of that glass, like maybe it's this." It's that same thing in like sports manga where they just hit you with some jargon and it makes you feel cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be like an anime about a guy running a bar, and then there'd be like different stories based on like the people coming into the bar, and he like
Oh. There is
helps them learn life lessons or
there is an
something.
anime that's pretty much exactly that, but I forget what it's actually called. But I remember watching, I think it was Jeff. I remember watching Jeff review a show that fits that kind of description. Something like that. But I forget what it's actually called. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering like where are they gonna take this? Because the first episode was just looking for a guy. So
Well, in the intro, they show multiple people, so presumably they're gonna look for more or something.
he's definitely gonna pass the exam because he's obviously a super. I mean, he already basically passed. They already tested him. I don't know if I'd watch more of this. I mean, I might just out of curiosity. I wouldn't say it was bad. It dragged out a little, but I was interested for the most part. It just felt a little too straightforward. By like 5 minutes in, you can basically guess how it's gonna play out.
Well, this kind of strikes me as more of a not actually bad, but more of a very much not for me type of show.
It's definitely for a certain demographic that's not us.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say, the animation was good in this one too. It looked good.
Oh, I guess I could mention that there actually is like like an OVA version of this that came out
Huh.
before this series. Made by the Wait, is it made by the same studio?
Is this like a really popular series or something?
Maybe. I could look at the stats of the manga on. Oh wait, no, it's also a TV series. I thought it was like a one-time thing. It's 11 episodes long. So this is a remake.
Well, I guess it must be a banger if it got a remake.
Yeah.
Well, now that makes me even more
I
curious.
guess it didn't cover the whole thing though, because the manga is 166 chapters and 21 volumes long.
God damn, that's that is longer than I ever would have expected. Do you think they have like arcs? Do you think they have like drama between the bartenders or something?
And I imagine that kind of thing would have to exist, otherwise there probably wouldn't be much engaging about the plot.
Okay,
So
I have to watch more of this just to see. That's just crazy to me.
I mean, I'm looking at the
166
score.
chapters.
I'm looking at the score distribution of the manga, and like it's leaning entirely in the green. So that means that it is like it seems like the majority of people have given it like an 8 out of 10, people who've read
Well,
this.
that makes sense. I mean,
So like it
if you
seems
if
like
you're reading this, you're probably someone who's going to enjoy it.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I've seen some manga on the side with some pretty bad score distribution, to be fair. So
It's like the manga where they fight with their asses. Like if you're
yeah.
seeking that out, you know what you're getting into. Uh yeah, it was all right. Give it like a 6 out of 10. I feel like none of the characters really gave me much to latch on to.
hmm
I think my favorite was maybe like the boss.
Well, maybe they'll delve more into the characters as the story progresses because, like why was the bartender sleeping on a bench? Is he homeless? Question mark.
I think he's just a hot mess.
Wonder what the story behind that guy is.
He's
Something,
just a
something.
messy bitch.
Probably.
Oh, but they did talk about how he bartended in France and he came back to Japan. And the boss was like, "Well, why did he come back to Japan? Because like that kind of implies he like failed. Like he couldn't make the cut." There's hints of something more here. What's it even called? Wait. Okay.
Jellyfish can't swim in the night.
Jellyfish can't swim in the night.
So this show is about a girl named Yoru who is an aspiring, or I guess once was an aspiring artist of sorts, but they became somewhat uninspired and demotivated.
I guess Yoru is like her screen name,
Is
and
it?
her actual name is. Well, that's why the girl said like, "Oh, do you like?" She called her Yoru, and she was like surprised. She was like, do you prefer?" I guess her name is Mahiru.
Oh, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, I think that's like her social media handle is Yoru.
Oh, right, because I think it said that when she wrote her name on the graffiti on the wall before she scribbled it out. Because she's an artist, except her friends back in the day didn't really appreciate her art, and they made fun of it, which kind of made her feel insecure about her art.
It's super impressive. She like as a wee lad got a big ass jellyfish mural.
I was gonna say I wish I could draw that good when I was that age. I can't even draw
Yeah.
that good now, and I've been drawing for like almost like 10 years at this point, if not more.
Imagine though how ego destroying that would be to have something like that made into a mural and then your friends see it and they're like, "Whoa, look at that dog shit mural."
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, should we like scribble all over it?" And yeah, they so it messed with her confidence a bit in regards to her art. So she
And
stopped
and
like
she just went along with it. She was like, "Haha, yeah, what a shit art piece. Let's graffiti it."
yeah, I don't know. That would be like if I was just like hanging out with my friends one day and they like pulled out my Twitter, not knowing that it's my Twitter, and they were like, "Man, this art is dog shit. This art is terrible. Holy crap." And I'd just be like, yeah, man. Yeah, that that art sure is sure is but like it's actually funny because I do to some extent kind of relate to like what it's like to have your art be like somewhat underappreciated because and having it like demotivate you and not really feel like drawing. That's like the current arc that I'm literally on right now
Yeah, no,
personally.
this anime was insanely hashtag relatable for us
Yeah,
artists.
yeah. I'm just like, oh wow, she is literally me. So there's like a performance happening in front of her art, the mural that was painted.
Yeah, there's a lot of influencers in this show. It's kind of upsetting. It's upsetting that like the 5-year-old sister is like, I want to be
Yeah.
an influencer.
At the start of the show, they're talking about pickpock. And like the little sister is literally just filming her older sister in bed and is like, I'm gonna post this on pickpock because it's gonna get a lot of views because you're like a sexy high school girl who's like super vulnerable and shit. It's like, what the fuck is going on right now? Holy shit. Like, yeah, it is weird.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a singer. She's got like posters plastered all over it.
It like gets progressively worse too, because like by the time you reach like the second performance later on in the episode, now there's like graffiti all over it too.
I think the graffiti was already there.
Was it? Oh, maybe I didn't notice.
I think she might have even done the graffiti with her friends,
Yeah.
which is very uh upsetting.
That yeah. So she's like she wants to like defend her art because she doesn't like that they're like plastering posters all over it, but she doesn't feel confident enough to do it. And she's like, "Oh, well, even if I did, I don't really deserve to stand up for my own art when I'm not even willing to have my name on it." Because she like scribbled her name because she was ashamed of it for people making fun of it. So then this other girl comes in who is a fan of that artwork and is like, "Stop ruining the art." And then like people start noticing who she is, so she's like, "Oh shit, I better piece the fuck out of here." But like she catches the eye of the main character girl Yoru, and Yoru decides to like go after her. And that's when she learns. Oh, they meet, and she learns that this girl. Wait, I can't remember what they learned. Did she learn she was an idol first, or did she learn that she was a fan first?
I think she opens with that she's a huge fan. Kano is the name of the girl.
Yeah, she's like, I'm a huge fan of your work. And it kind of reminded me, this is like another thing that was like a hashtag relatable moment. It kind of reminds me of like when artists often talk about their work being underappreciated, but everyone's always just like, oh, well, trust me, there's always at least one person out there who actually likes your artwork. A lot of the time I'm kind of just like, oh, that's because I'm a bit of a cynic, so I'm just
Yeah.
like, that's just like total bullshit. There's no way that's actually true. And then Arlon, remember when I told you about that time when someone pinged me on Twitter and was like, "Oh, I love it that cool artist such as To Me Draws follows me," and I'm like, "Wait, what? What the fuck?"
No, it's like when I found out that just some guy in Bencord was like, "I'm a huge Big Billy fan."
Yeah,
It's like,
and
what
you
the
know
hell?
what? It is a nice feeling.
Some people just don't. they just don't let it be known when they're a fan of something. They
Yeah.
just silently, internally are like, "This is the best thing ever, and I love it."
They're lurkers.
Yeah.
Incidentally, if you are someone who consumes either of our art, make your love known.
Yes.
But yeah, no, she like turns out to be like a big fan of Yoru's artwork. Then she reveals that she retired as like a public idol, that she used to be an idol, but she shows Yoru that she still makes music on her own on the like I guess she's like anonymous, she publishes anonymously, and she asks Yoru to start making art for her. And at first like, Yoru is a little bit hesitant about that.
She totally bitches out. She ran away.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of relate to that too, to be honest, because I mean, it's probably for totally different reasons, but when people ask me to do like actual art for them, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I find it like kind of overwhelming because I'm not
It's a
really
lot of
used,
pressure.
yeah, I'm not really used to doing art for other people. So when people ask me, like, it's so funny because for me, the way I go about it is like actually kind of fucked up because sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, I'll do that, and then I just don't. So yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
don't do that.
yeah. I mean, the good thing is it's usually requests and they're not paying me, because if they were paying me, that's when I'd feel really guilty. I'd be like, okay, I should probably go about doing that art piece now. So they meet again. What was it? The idol is performing one of Kano's songs, right? I think the other idol.
Yeah, I guess it was like a song from their idol group. I don't know.
Yoru's not a fan of how she's doing the song because she really likes the song. And then Kano shows up again, and she basically says what Yoru wanted to say, which is like, stop bastardizing the fucking song. And then she goes up and performs it herself, and she like whispers something into Yoru's ear, and then like midway through the performance, it's revealed that she wants to be able to perform in front of Yoru's art. So then Yoru feels emboldened by Kano's performance to go and rip down the posters so that Kano can actually perform in front of Yoru's art. And I thought that was a pretty cool scene. Really well
And it
animated.
was all like a metaphor for jellyfish because according to the show, I don't think this is actually true, but according to the characters in the show, jellyfish, they can't swim on their own or something. They need the sunlight.
Yeah.
So Yoru
They
is
need
like,
sunlight to shine.
I'm gonna leech off you, Kano, so I can be cool like you.
You're the sunlight and I'm the jellyfish is
Yeah.
basically what's going on here. I mean, it certainly was like it did have a bit of a mixed feeling about that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a very pathetic thing to say, honestly.
Yeah, like it's kind of presented in a wholesome way, but it's just I do appreciate the message of being like, oh, like if you can't support yourself, there's nothing necessarily
Yeah.
wrong with being dependent on people, but you should also be like totally capable of being independent to some
Yeah.
extent.
At the same time, it's like if someone said that to me, I would be freaked out. That is such a weird thing to say to someone.
Yeah, very much so. But I mean, I still found it like pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was cute. I do like the dynamic of the characters. And I was thinking to myself, this show is definitely gonna get accused of queer baiting. Just saying it right now. Because you know that genre of like anime where it's like cute girls that like have a really cute relationship with each other, and everyone's just like, this feels like Yuri bait, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
They definitely had a few moments of being like, "Wait, are they gonna kiss?"
yeah,
Oh, also, can I just say it's a little bit weird that Yoru, whose name means night, is
hmm
I guess that's probably part of the metaphor now that I think about it. Anyway, Yoru, whose name means night, and is the jellyfish, was the angel, and Kano was the devil.
Oh yeah,
Because they wore matching
that
Halloween
that didn't
costumes
even
by
register.
accident.
That didn't even register in my mind, but yeah, that is true. But what did you think of the animation of the show?
It looked really good. I don't know how to describe it. It's like
Almost
a
movie
more,
tier.
yeah, it's like a more realistic looking style.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like the environmental stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they did the anime thing where they like used real pictures and through editing made it look like anime.
Mm-hmm.
They like look like they're in an actual city. It looks really good.
Yeah, like the lighting and stuff. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Calling of the Night. That's like the show that kind of, or Call of the Night or whatever. That's the show that came to mind. What I,
Call of the Night was like a little bit smoother. I don't mean to say it looked better, but like it was more
mm-hmm.
like this was like rougher, but not in like a bad way, in like a stylistic
Yeah.
way.
The way the human character, like the humans are drawn, like the people kind of reminded me a little bit of Re:Zero.
You
Like
know what it reminded me of?
what?
It reminded me of Onimai because they had a bunch of weird creep shots of the main character for no reason.
Yeah, they did that a lot. And like especially in the beginning when they're talking about it literally like in the context of like sexualizing kids. It's like, okay,
Yeah, they're
that was
talking about making a TikTok of a high school girl sleeping, and as they're having this discussion, the camera is like leering, trying to get a shot down her shirt.
yeah, it was really uncomfortable. This show is way too grounded to be doing that.
Worst kind of fan service. I do not like when I feel like the cameraman is just a strange man.
But it's not that surprising because I was looking at the staff of this show, and you'll never guess what show the director worked on.
uh, Inukai-san's dog.
He worked on Arrow Manga Sensei.
Of course.
So, you know. But he also worked on Mushoku Tensei and Jujutsu Kaisen and, Don't Touch the Aizuken, all of which are decent to actually genuinely good looking shows. So. And the art director for this, um, he actually worked on like really good looking shows. He worked on fucking Ranking of Kings and Trigun Stampede, which, are like some of, I mean, I don't think this show used any CG at all, but like those are like one of the best looking like CG anime to come out in like a very long time. So they have a very talented art director working on this, which explains why the show looks so good. Oh, actually, there was one other thing that I looked up when I was looking up the staff, because when you look at the AniList profile and you look at what it lists the original creator as, it lists the original creator as Jelly, like the
Oh
group that they
shit.
formed in the anime.
It's
And when you
Kano.
and when you go on the Twitter page, it actually is just a Twitter page, essentially ERPing as the characters,
Oh, that's cool. That's cute.
posting when they go out eating or when they make music or when one of them does illustrations.
Nice.
It reminds me of like, because this isn't the first time I've seen something like this. They actually did do something similar for Arrow Manga Sensei. They had like a Sagiri Twitter account and an Elf Twitter account, and like the orange girl, I forget what her name is. And it was basically them just role playing as the characters, like, oh, these are like actually real. I mean, those Twitter accounts are just like dead now, but I guess it's like a new marketing tactic that they sometimes do over in the anime side of things, where it's like, we're gonna have these characters actually exist and engage with the audience. I imagine they're gonna use this to like push the songs that Kano sings as like actual songs as well.
Oh, you know who else did this? Family Guy. There's an official Peter Griffin Twitter account.
That is definitely something. I actually want to see what kind of poster on there. But yeah, very interesting meta. Is that the word I'm looking for? Meta level marketing.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to say the studio. The studio is Doga Kobo, and they did Oshinoko, which is also a pretty good looking show. So they also did Shikimoru, which is not a good looking show, but
Yeah. I guess they're improving. They're improving.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure I'd say this is the best looking show this season for me.
hmm
I think that still might be Kaiju number 8.
Yeah. For me, it's probably still Windrush, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or not Windrush,
Wi-
Windbreakers.
Yeah.
Why do I keep saying Windrush?
Some of the animation, it was so ambitious that it almost got into like Handshakers territory. It was like what Handshakers was trying to do, but good, but it still felt a
Like with the
little
cameras
weird.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that we got some panning shots where the camera is spinning around characters.
Yeah, like there's that one shot. I kind of like that shot though. The one where it like moves from Kano singing in the front to like Yoru in the back, and then and then it like zooms into her face, and she has that moment of I want to do this, and then she starts running past all the people in the audience to like go tear down the poster. I thought it was a pretty good looking shot.
Maybe I'm just ruined on super ambitious shots like that.
Gohan has scarred you.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't look it looked good. It looked fine.
Yeah, yeah.
It was an impressive piece of animation. I shouldn't be making fun of it.
No, I understand. I understand the trauma. Especially after fucking the girl I like forgot her glasses.
This was a good show. It was very hashtag relatable. I feel like I should watch more of it purely out of. It's not. This isn't generally my type of show. It's a little too slice of lifey for me.
hmm
But I feel like I should be watching more of it simply because maybe it'll have something to teach me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on that one. I mean, I generally don't like watch music related anime to start with, but I am somewhat interested to see where this one goes. So into the bottomless pit of my paused list it goes.
No. Next is Train to the End of the World. Do you want to summarize this interesting piece of media, Tamika?
Okay, so imagine a company that wants to drastically outpace its foreign competition in advancing the technology of mobile data.
It's 7G, baby.
Yeah, they're like,
Instant transmission of thoughts between individuals.
yeah, it's time for 7G.
They're literally like making the Ava, the Ava project.
So they spring this on this girl and they're like, "Oh, dude, you like won the prize. You get to launch this project because something. I didn't quite get how she got to win being put in this position." So she presses the button and it just completely fucks up the world. Uh, everything just falls apart. It starts, well, not really like an apocalypse per se.
No, it's an apocalypse. It's like we turn into like an alternate reality where like
It looks like something you see in a like Satoshi Kon movie. That's what the animation looks like. It reminded me of like something you'd see in fucking Paprika or like the weird like wacky. That's what it looked like.
yeah, the laws of physics and reason break down and the world becomes a weird surreal post-apocalyptic place. And
hmm
apparently all individuals after they've turned I think it was
21.
20,
21
21
in
and
3 months.
yeah, turn into anthropomorphic animals.
I mean, the at massive air quotes around anthro, because
Yeah, they turn into talking animals.
yeah, because when you think anthro, you think like fucking like some fucking Mickey Mouse type shit. These are
Yeah.
literally just animals that can talk. I love how it's just presented as like matter of fact, like, yeah, that was one of the things that happened, is that people turned into animals. And it's sort of like implied that they might be leaning more into their animal instincts as time moves on.
The bear literally just tried to murder. He just tried to maul that girl, and they just punched him and
He
acted
came
like
back
it
to
was. Yeah, he like snapped out of it.
yeah, they were like, "You just bared out just now," and it was like, "What the fuck? I did."
That is racist.
Yeah. So then, oh, I guess there's this guy who used to be like a conductor, not well known, but a really skilled railway director.
Well, we're skipping around a little bit.
Oh, right, I
It's
forgot.
following the I guess friend group of the girl who got selected to hit the 7G button.
Yeah, and they want to find her because she went missing.
Yeah, it's been 2 years, and
Yeah,
she's been missing for that time.
one of the girls was like trying to find her. I think everyone else kind of just assumed she was dead,
Yeah.
including the grandma, who's a hamster. And then they
No, she was a guinea pig.
a guinea
Please,
pig.
Coco. Learn your animals. You
Bruh.
absolute fool.
Yeah. But then, oh yeah, so like a lot of like businesses and stuff obviously shut down in the wake of the apocalypse. But then they find out that there is actually still some news publications that are still printing out newspapers. The newspaper that they come across just so happens to feature a picture of the girl, and that's how they find out that she's still alive and that she's in some place called I forget what it's actually called. Eek something,
Ike, was it Ike Habera? Uh,
something like that. So
Ike Bana?
the girl's like, I want to go there because
Ike
people
Bukuro.
Ike Bukuro. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they show the picture to the grandma pig, and she's like, "Oh, my granddaughter's alive." She cries, and incidentally, that is one adorable grandma pig. Okay.
She actually doesn't speak,
Yeah,
which
I was gonna
kind of
say I
leans
don't think
further
we
into
uttered
them.
a single line of dialogue, but just like this old lady, but like as a guinea pig and knitting.
The fact that she doesn't speak and just silently cries makes it way more creepy because it
Yeah,
feels like she's like not even human anymore, but she just has the memories.
yeah. Well, I mean, she was knitting when they walked in on her.
Oh, was she?
Yeah,
Oh, then maybe she's just like a normal grandma and she's just mute.
yeah, she's just really old.
Yeah.
And that's when the conductor comes in. The conductor, for some reason, he like, how do you even describe the conductor's behavior?
He is a strange, hunched over, shriveling old man running around frantically while shouting Boshi, which means hat.
Uh, oh, I thought it was saying choo choo. I didn't realize it was saying had.
No, he was saying Boshi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they finally find the hat, or she finally finds the hat with the help of this dog whose butthole is just on full
Oh
display.
my god, can we talk about this dang dog for a second? Well, I'll put up the image. Why does he look like that? But
Why is his
I
butthole drawn?
well, it's not no, it's not about the butthole because I know that's like a
Yeah, because I was gonna say
Japanese
that's a common thing in a lot of.
For some reason Japanese people think that dog buttholes are cute. I don't get it. But at least like that's coming from somewhere. But why do they also make him thick? Like he's got like a
They
thick
gave him
ass in that
actual
image.
cheeks.
Yeah. That is not how you draw a dog's ass. They drew his cheeks like human cheeks. I don't understand.
To appeal to the furries.
When it got revealed that the animals are actually like people that turned into animals, I thought it was going to be like, oh, that dog is actually like was like a hot girl, and now she's like, I'm a hot dog now, and everyone's like, what the fuck? But
Oh, that dog was always a dog.
yeah, it's just a normal dog that they draw like that for no particular reason, I guess.
Yeah. So they find the hat and they put it on the conductor, which I guess it makes the conductor go back to normal, and he turns out to be this really young, strapping young lad. who was it ever explained? Because this guy's definitely like older than 21, right? Like, did they ever explain how, or I guess they don't know how this works yet, but like, why is he not an animal?
I don't think they explained why he wasn't an animal. I mean, it could. I don't know.
I mean, he seems to know something about the 7G stuff.
It was kind of hard to follow because he very quickly dumped a bunch of exposition about this.
Yeah.
His deal. We skipped around a little bit in the second episode, so I've put together a little bit more lore about this guy. He knew the seven. Oh, did we mention that the girl is with the 7G people still?
Yeah, like the CEO or whatever.
Yeah. So this
Hmm.
guy knew the 7G people and he was outspokenly against it and was like, this is going to break the laws of physics and destroy reality as we know it. And the 7G people wouldn't listen. So they like
They like
scrambled his
did something to his
brain.
brain, like there's stitches on
Yeah.
his forehead.
They scrambled his brain so he would turn into an old man who can only say Boshi. And the
Except
only
for like the 5 minutes a day where he can be
Yeah.
normal.
If you put on his cap for 5 minutes a day, he can turn back into his normal self.
And he explains, oh, they find a train, and he explains
Yeah,
to the
he's the
girl,
conductor. It's a conductor's cap.
yeah, and he explains to the girl how to drive the train, and she decides, oh, well, now that I know how to drive the train, I'm gonna use this train to go to where my friend is, to go and find my friend. And that's how the plot starts. That's pretty much like the start of the
Yeah.
journey to the end of the world, as the title suggests.
And then all the friends and the dog come along too.
Yes.
The conductor guy wants to undo the 7G, but he didn't come along
He
for.
literally says, I can't come with you because reasons. That's one of those moments where I'm just like, is that actually what they said, or is this just the fucking subs being stupid?
So I'm wondering, like, are they gonna be able to Did he tell her how to undo the 7G as well?
Well, is the guy like a tech guy? I mean, I guess he must be since he knows like about
Yeah, that
the
he
potential side effects it would have had if they went through with it.
I'm assuming he was like part of the 7G project and he
Hmm.
was like going to be a whistleblower or something to stop the 7G.
I guess the conductor thing was like a side gig.
Well, the train tracks and the trains seem to have some significance. Like they made some comment about their power coming from the train tracks.
Oh, I missed that part.
I mean, this show was kind of boring in my opinion. It's a shame because like I would definitely
I think the
recommend.
vibe it's going for is one of those comfy, oh, you get to observe the environment post-apocalypse, but it's actually kind of peaceful and well drawn. Because the environmental art in this is pretty good.
It all looked pretty good except for those ugly CG trucks.
There was quite a bit. There was like an opening shot where it's like a CG shot inside of a train that they just throw at you in like the first 5 seconds of the first episode. And I was like, ugh, okay.
Yeah,
Because
for
I
the
watched
most part, it looked good.
I watched the PV for this, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to check this out, is because I thought the premise was interesting and the animation looked pretty good. So I was like, I wanna check this out.
Like the first 5 minutes of this, I would totally recommend to anyone. The scene where they just abduct her and are going on this crazed speech about the 7G, and then
Yeah.
she presses the button and just fucks up the whole world. That whole thing was really entertaining. But then most of the rest of the episode is just very slow exposition,
Characters talking.
just characters sitting there and chatting about what happened in the last 2 years. It was really boring. And the second episode appeared to be pretty similar.
I don't imagine like the energy or the vibes of this show like escalating that much. This definitely feels like it's meant to be like a pretty laid back kind of show.
I was just hoping that maybe things would get a little bit more lively now that like the setup is that they're on the train and going to be going to different stops. So that sounds a little bit more adventure-y, but no.
Well, there's only so much you can encounter in a Japan that's mostly destroyed.
That's not true at all. Look at like Kipo. Kipo is a show in a very similar
Oh. Well, the thing is, I
setting.
actually did drop that show because I actually did find it boring. But
But like
yeah,
the world in Kipo is interesting and there's like exciting things that happen,
yeah,
for all
okay.
its problems.
Incidentally, I was looking at. Oh, I mentioned this before we started recording. I looked at the studio and I don't recognize a single show that these guys have done except for Assassin's Pride. Oh, it's a studio called EMT Squared. I feel like I've heard that name somewhere
Yeah,
before.
I feel like I've heard that too.
They've probably done like some shows we've covered in the past, but like I was scrolling through their thing. The only show I recognized was Assassin's Pride, and that's only because I've read the manga. I didn't really recognize anything else here. Oh, they did I'm Quitting Heroing, which I think is a show you talked about on
Yeah,
here.
that's one of my favorite anime of all time. And it is a pretty good looking show.
But it seems like they haven't worked on that many shows because they've been around since like 2015.
Oh, they did the other Shota Isekai.
Wait, which one?
It's I don't know if you'd recognize it. I definitely complained to you about this show because I hated it.
Is it A Journey Through Another World?
The aristocrat's otherworldly adventure, serving gods who go too far.
Yeah, I don't recognize that.
Yeah, it sucks.
I also noticed that this director seems to be very much into doing this kind of show because they did Girls Owned Panzer
Oh, Kuma
and
Kuma Kuma Bear.
oh yeah, that's a show that the studio has done.
Oh,
The
and they
direct
did the dragon. Oh wait, no, this is isn't this from yeah, this is last season, Fluffy Paradise. The one where they tried to put the monsters in camps. I guess they do a lot of isekai.
I do not recall that, but that sounds
Yeah, it was on we talked about it in the isekai lightning round.
ah
I'm sure
right.
it's all a blur for you, but I did complain about that.
I was looking at the director. It seems like he's been the director of basically every season of Girls und Panzer.
Huh.
Now that I'm looking at it, he's also done The Lost Village. He also directed Prison School, which is a show I haven't seen but definitely intend to at some point. And Another, which is also a show. Well, I mean, I've seen that one, and I regret that I invested my time in that at all. But all that to say, neither of those shows are like bad looking, so you know. And I thought that this show was pretty good looking too. I mean, there was some moments that I found the way that the humans were drawn kind of off-putting a little bit. Well, maybe not off-putting is what I'm looking for. I don't know if you got this vibe, but the way the characters were drawn in the very first scene, something made it feel like what you get if like American artists tried to, for once, got like really close to replicating what anime actually looks like, but like there's still telltale signs.
I didn't get that at all. They just looked like normal anime girls to me.
Maybe it was just me.
No, I actually thought the characters looked really good in this.
Yeah. No, overall it's a pretty good looking show.
I guess maybe I can see what you mean just looking at the promotional art.
Hmm.
But yeah, it looked fine to me. Looked good.
This is a show that I would watch on Vivans, but I don't have Vivans, so there you go.
I'm not sure if I'd watch more of this. I'm also a little bit wary of these kinds of really weird shows because I feel like a lot of the time they end up having really disappointing endings.
Oh, you mean like AOT type twists? Or like decadent type twists?
Yeah, Decadence or like Wonder Egg.
Like there's a mystery element to it and the twist at the end is ends up being like fucking stupid.
It's partly that, but it's partly the fact that they make it so weird. It's like hard to deliver on all the weirdness in a cohesive way. So it always ends up just you get to the ending and you're like, what? What the fuck? What
Yeah.
was that supposed to be?
No, I get what you mean.
But it wasn't bad for sure. It's just another one that's not really my type of show.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give it like a 6.
But you'll definitely dig this if you are into cute girls doing cute things type of shows.
Or if you really like animals, because there's a lot of animals in it.
Oh, when you were skipping through the second episode, I noticed that there was an old man there. who was a human. So I guess this like being 21 and you become an animal thing isn't like a hard and fast rule.
I thought they said it was everyone, but yeah, there was an old man. You're right.
Or maybe it just affects different areas differently. I don't know. I guess that's one of those mysteries that you learn when you watch the series. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Yeah, it was all right. Watch the first 5 minutes of it.
Go and watch Karekano if you like the first 5 minutes of this. You will enjoy Karekano.
Okay, next is New Gate, which is one that
Where if you die in the game, you die in real life. Sorry, go on.
only I have watched, but you expressed interest in the premise, so I figured we could briefly talk about it. I did go back and I think I watched the first episode again.
So here's the plot. Here's the plot of New Game. You've got this guy who's like hanging out with his friend that he met in this game. And while and he's like, "Oh, dude, I suck at this game. Can you like help me get really good at this game?" So the guy's like, "All right, dude, I'll help you get good at this game." And like, meanwhile, while they're getting good at the game, suddenly the avatar of the creator of the game appears and is like, "Yeah, so I'm trapping all of you guys in the game. And if you die in the game, you die in..." No, that's not actually the plot. Go on.
Well, it might as well be. The the premise of this show is yeah, it looks a little bit suspiciously familiar. The main character, he wears this black trench coat, and he I think he dual wields swords, and
Holy shit.
he's trapped in this death game where they have to clear the game, I guess, to
Do they
go
have to
back.
do they have to go through the floors in the tower to reach the final boss to clear the game?
No.
Uh,
It's not really a clone and it's not really inspiration. It's like the author didn't like where Sword Art Online goes and was like, what if I just made my own sequel to Sword Art Online?
he was like, "Yeah, I'm not a particularly huge fan of all that asana rape. So,
Yeah.
what if I made a version of Sword Art Online where that doesn't exist?" Now, the thing that I find kind of interesting about this show is the fact that oftentimes when it comes to isekai, we often blame the original Sword Art Online for like the generic light novel isekai thing becoming like a thing. But I have to say that not many of those types of shows that were born in the wake of SAO are as blatant as this. Like you'd think this would be like the first. You think that it would be like the first, and then we get more of what we normally get. But it kind of feels like we're going in reverse, where like now the inspiration is a bit more obvious.
I think that's fair because it's the gimmick of this show, right?
hmm
It's not a shameless copy because there are isekai like that.
Yeah.
I mean, in the defense of isekai, yeah, there's definitely a few every season that are just the same show again,
hmm
and they kind of just. I mean, I watched a couple this season that I could not tell you which is which, even though I watched them 2 weeks ago. But then there's also isekai that get really creative with it, like Vending Machine. So
Or slime isekai.
yeah, slime is pretty creative. Or even Remonster, as much as I don't care for the monster type.
Yeah.
But the show starts with them beating the final boss, and then everyone gets a message that's like, "Hell yeah, you did it! It's time to go back to the real world." Except the main character, who
Oh well, there's a twist.
and I forget if he gets a message. He stays and instead gets transported into the future, and it's just like the real world now. So he gets isekai'd as a reward for clearing the death game.
Oh, so he got transferred from a game world to a fantasy world.
Well, it's the
Oh,
yeah.
it's the future, not a fantasy world.
No, it's the future in that world, but it's not futuristic. It's still fantasy.
Ah,
But it's just been 100 years or something.
I see.
In terms of as an isekai, it's very very standard. Just the main character, doing his thing. He joins the guild. He's super overpowered because he already beat the game.
Well, that makes a little bit more sense than like being the best just because you beta tested it. You actually like have experience of having played through the actual fucking game and presumably grinded through the game instead of being like, oh yeah, no, I beta tested this game like a couple times and now I have insanely high experience compared to everyone else.
There's something enjoyable about having the main character just be like he's got his own shit going on. He's on a different level from pretty much everyone else in the world because he's, reached the end game. But
Yeah.
in terms of the stuff happening, it's just like the usual killing monsters, growing your harem. But I do think like just conceptually it's kind of amusing. I wonder if the author was just like we Kirito has suffered enough. It's time to give him his peaceful retirement.
Man, wouldn't it be crazy if you looked up the origins of this and then it actually started out as a web novel that was like fan fiction with like sort of online characters, but then they just like changed out the characters. Like, like those movies. Uh,
like 50 Shades of Grey.
yeah, it's like those like movies. Like there's this one Wattpad novel that was turned into a movie, and it was literally just like a girl writing a self-insert fan fiction about herself and Harry Styles. So they turned it into a movie and they were like, yeah, let's not actually make the character Harry Styles because that would be it'd be funny if that's the origins of this.
I could totally see it. Anyway, I give it like a strong 6 to a light 7. It's nothing special, but I don't quite know what like the difference is between like the boring isekai I was just complaining about and this for me, because this obviously is also pretty generic, but there's just something about it that hits different.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
So do we know who did this anime?
Do we care?
I think it would be really funny if it actually was A1 Pictures.
I somehow doubt it was A1 Pictures.
So I'm actually just gonna look up the show because it would be really funny if it was A1 Pictures. Uh, it was not A1 Pictures. It was, oh, I guess maybe it was a joint effort or something, or maybe these are co-owned studios. Cloud Hearts and Yokohama Animation Lab. I've never heard of these studios ever in my entire life. Holy shit. Okay, I guess Cloud Hearts is new because they started making shows the last year. That's crazy.
Oh, they did Ice Blade Sorcerer, one of my
Yokohama
faves.
did Azure Lane. That's something. Azure Lane. Oh, I guess they did the trailer for JJK. And that's it. That's the only notable thing there.
Epic.
Fair enough.
Well, props to them. Oh, they also did the joint thing for the Ice Blade Sorcerer shall rule the world.
Oh, I guess the director for this was an assistant episode director on Psychopaths,
And look at that. They did work on Sword Art Online.
but as a storyboard artist. Oh, and they actually directed quite a few episodes of Index. So there you go. Wait, this director's actually been involved in like they were on fucking Ghost in the Shell. Man, what a downgrade. Come on, what are you doing?
They took a legend and put them on a legendary show.
True.
The new gate, it might not be appreciated in our time, but someday it'll be a cult classic.
I can't wait for Trixie to make the New Gate is Great series where it's like 20 parts long and it's about why New Gate is good.
Next is Viral Hit, which I can summarize this one because it is another manhwa adaptation, which I have read.
Oh yeah, I was wondering about that because I saw the names and I was like, this isn't a Japanese joint because their names are like Young Yang Pak or whatever.
Yeah, it's an interesting coincidence. It's not like I read that many manhwa, but I just happen to have read some of this manhwa like right before the season started with no knowledge that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I wanted to talk about it because I do think it's an interesting.
This manhwa, by the way, was created by the same guy who also created Lookism.
I think I
Uh,
actually knew that.
yeah, and Lookism was I've not read Lookism, but it's a pretty popular
Yeah,
thing.
I'm not sure I've read it either. I've definitely heard of it as well. What? Lookism is on Netflix? I just Googled Lookism and I see Watch Lookism.
Oh yeah,
So I guess it has a Netflix adaptation.
I forgot that Lookism even had an anime.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I've read Lookism. Wow, 500 chapters though.
That's long.
Yes.
As compared to this, which is how long?
Viral Hit, I think it's like 200 chapters. And I
Hmm.
believe it's over. I haven't read that much of it, but I did take a look at the manhwa and I saw the latest chapter was called like The End or something. So
Oh,
220 through or 222 chapters.
that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's I'd say that's generally like when I'm looking to read a manhwa, it needs to be at least 100 chapters for me to feel it's worth investing in starting it. And generally like 200 chapters is that sweet spot where it's not so long that you get burnt out.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, very a very irregular thing for your manhwa to have an ending, I feel like.
What, did they do the fucking shonen thing where they go on for too long?
Yes. Of the, probably 100 plus manhwa I've read at this point, I have only read one manhwa, or no, two manhwa that had an ending. Solo Leveling and Kill the Hero is the first manhwa I've read since I started my manhwa reading project that actually had an ending.
And that's after reading 100 plus, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, most of them are just designed to go on forever and like I guess manhwa haven't or like webtoons haven't been a thing for that long. So most of them aren't more than like 300 chapters. Only like a few OGs are super long, you know.
Yeah.
I digress. The story follows a nerd named Hobin who's just an ordinary high schooler, I guess. But in his class is a famous YouTube streamer.
Go.
Yeah, Pakko. I think that's like his screen name is Pakko.
Yeah.
Uh, and he's like an awful bully. They make Hoban be their makeup makeup dummy person. Basically, he like torments Hoban for the stream's entertainment while also trying to come off as like a good guy or something.
He's trying to climb the social ladder.
That's what the other guy whose name I cannot pronounce. The
The
blonde
blonde
one,
guy.
yeah, the blonde guy with the very ugly haircut. I guess it's kind of a TikTok haircut, honestly.
TikTok haircut.
Yeah, that guy is Paco's cameraman, and he is specifically doing it just to suck up to Paco.
Basically, he wants to leech off of Paco's clout.
And they're making bank streaming, and meanwhile, Hoban, his mom is like in the hospital, and he's having to work a part-time job at.
His mom has cancer, and his classmates are just like literally don't. Well, I mean, the blonde guy at least literally just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he said, "Is your mom dead yet?" Lol.
Yeah, he does not give a fuck at all.
And they're like trying to use him to his mom's bank account
Yeah, because
for.
you're not allowed to get ad revenue from YouTube when you're a minor. You have to be registered under an adult. So the blonde guy is like, hey, I mean, your mom's not using it because, your mom's probably gonna die of cancer, LOL. So let me use your mom's bank book to be able to register myself for ad revenue.
Basically, the point is Hoban's like the underdog. He is the world is against him, society is against him, and he's reaching his limit. And then Ji Hyuk, I don't know how to pronounce. I should really learn how to pronounce Korean names.
Snapper is the blonde guy's like I think that's his screen name or whatever.
So Snapper is streaming at Hoban's house and is like having Hoban make ramen for him as he's using Hoban's mom's bank account and his PC. It is pretty comical the extent to which Hoban just lets these people control his life. But he's making ramen for Snapper, and as he's carrying it over, he looks down to spit in the ramen. And because of this, he does not see that there is a cable going across the floor, and it causes him to trip and to comically throw the hot bowl of ramen in Snapper's face and fall face first into his balls. He unplugs the cord as he's doing this, so the computer turns off.
And then they get into a brawl.
Snapper snaps and tells Hoban that he's the reason his mom has cancer.
Which causes Hoban to Hoban.
Yes.
And he starts Hoban all over Snapper's face with his fists.
And ramen.
Yeah.
So
He's like using the ramen as like, you know, like when you have enemies in video games where they fight you with like two whips. That's what it looks like.
He did like some Jackie Chan ass combat and started fighting with ramen to attack Snapper.
And Snapper fights back with a pot.
Yeah, that seems like kind of an unequal fight, but I mean, they seem pretty evenly matched.
I'm just surprised he didn't knock the fuck out of him with that pot. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Hoban seems extremely durable because he tanked that shit. It didn't even like stun him or anything.
Then Snapper just leaves, I guess, very upset. Hoban at his lowest point is very depressed, and
he's crying about the woes of living in a capitalist society.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up that a high schooler has to work a part-time job to pay for his mother's cancer treatment.
Yeah.
That seems kind of unchill, Korea. What happened to your national insurance program?
No, this actually just takes place in the north where draconian shit like that can happen.
Oh, they don't even say this in the anime. I guess they cut this. But the reason he like turns off the power strip, and in the mono he even says like, I am so poor that I have to turn off the power so I can afford the hospital bills.
I mean, he like briefly mentioned it. That's why I don't know if he turned off the power in the whole house, but he at least turned off the plugs in his room.
But so in the morning, he gets a very distressed call from Snapper, who's losing his shit. And Snapper is like, bruh, the plug you tripped over was actually the power for your monitor. And the whole fight got live streamed. And also, when you turned off the power strip, it automatically uploaded the VOD. And now the VOD has popped off and has like 1 million views.
He wants it to be taken down because he knows it'll influence his rep, since he's getting his ass beat by the local punching bag.
Getting his ass beat with ramen
Yeah.
after getting ramen thrown in his face and having a person trip face first into his dick.
Yeah. So he arrives back at school, Snapper does, and he is like, all right, I need to assert my dominance and make sure that the pecking order is maintained. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna go after this fat nerd because that's like an easy target to bully. So he slaps him in the back of the head, and the fat nerd just punches him in the face and starts beating the shit out of him. Because of course, no one is really intimidated by him anymore.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
I love the way he's screaming "Oro!" as he's beating the shit out of him.
And then he's like, "You're already dead." I don't know if that's what he actually said because it didn't sound like he said "Omae wa mo shinderu," but
I think that's what they translated it to in the manhwa too. They may have actually said that in the Korean. It's possible. Because that guy was clearly supposed to be like an otaku, so.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Hoban like realizes, wait, I can make money off this.
Yeah, he realizes he's made how much? Like a lot of yen.
Someone in the comments says you get like zero 0.1 yen per view. Or I think they say in the manga whatever. I forget what the
Man, I sure
Korean.
wish that's how it actually worked.
Well, that it for the record in the manga as well. That's not actually how it works. 'Cause even like someone replies to that saying like, "I'm not sure, but like that's the estimate of roughly how much you make."
Yeah.
Uh, won is the Korean equivalent. I don't know
Yeah.
about won, but yen is like 1,000 yen is like 60 cents, I think, currently. So,
Holy shit.
oh no, I'm getting confused. No, it's sorry, 100 yen is like 60 cents, not 1,000. That's my bad. They've got 100 yen coins. Okay, let's see. So 1 million times 0.1, 100,000 yen.
Damn, we mathing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the social discharge math cast.
I'm pretty sure it was like thousands of dollars. It was like
Yeah.
not tens of thousands, but like $6,000 or something was
It is enough
roughly.
for him to pay his mom's continually escalating hospital bill.
But he for the record, he didn't actually receive the money. He was
Yeah, he
just
didn't receive the money because he's still. I mean, he hasn't applied for ad revenue, so.
yeah. You got to be partnered on YouTube these days to get ad revenue, which is very silly in my opinion. But whatever.
It's not just that, you have to meet like a bunch of requirements. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, it kind of just seems like an excuse not to pay people, but whatever.
It's like, oh, you have to have gotten this many views within this short a time frame.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck off. Anyway,
Yeah, what if I'm just some guy who is like making YouTube videos on the side? Not everyone is a Paco, you know.
yeah.
Anyway, Snapper, just as low as Hoban, proposes to Hoban that he can be Hoban's cameraman and they can become famous YouTubers and split the money.
At first, he tries to shortchange him. He's
Yes.
like, oh yeah, dude, I'll get like 90% and you get 10.
But Hoban has already snapped, so he's like going sicko mode, and he doesn't accept until they do the opposite.
Hoban understands his value as a worker, and is actually like, you know, bending the fucking, what do you call it? Employer. Well, not really employer because the collab, but bending him over backwards and being like, nah, bro, you're gonna pay me what I'm fucking worth.
He seized the means of his production,
Yes.
and Snapper's like big plan is that they're gonna become bully
He, he's
hunters.
he's the producer and the filmer because he has like experience with like filming and video editing, and that's how Pakgo got popular because Snapper would help him produce his content. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that for you," and they're gonna call out bullies around the school and get into fights with them, which is an interesting concept, and I imagine quite the power fantasy for massive otaku weebs reading this who probably also get bullied at school. I get to beat up my bully and make money from it.
This is like a genre of manhwa. When you get into like martial arts manhwa, and then you've got the two genres. You've got the like fantasy Murem cultivation manhwa,
Hmm.
and then you've got the school manhwa, which all go kind of a similar way to this one, where you've got a nerd who's getting bullied mercilessly, and then some way or another they end up standing up to their bullies and getting into a situation where they can fight back. What I like about this one is that the whole virality element of it adds kind of a different angle of the
Wait a minute. Viral hit, as in it goes viral and it's a hit because it's a hit on YouTube, but hit as in it's a video that goes viral of him hitting someone in the face.
holy
Oh
shit.
my god, this title is genius.
it creates an interesting kind of tension of this whole, like, they've got to keep the momentum going. So you've always got to keep doing like bigger, better show stealing things, because at any minute, if they just have one miss, that could be the downfall of their channel and the internet moves on.
Yeah.
The reason I dropped this manhwa is because I also find it very stressful in a way I don't like.
What do you mean?
Minor spoilers, but they do make a bunch of money off the channel. And the first thing that Hoban does is spend all his money on an expensive track suit or something, or like it's like a Gucci shirt. There's just something hard to watch about that, you know?
It's the I'm rich now, I can buy whatever I want, and not actually thinking responsibly about having that money. Might come crashing down on him at some point when he realizes he should have been more fiscally and financially responsible.
It is a teenage fantasy, so it makes sense.
Oh, no, I actually thought that's what was gonna happen. I thought that it was gonna be a lesson in don't be over eager once you start coming into a lot of money.
I mean, I can't say what will eventually happen, but at least what I read of it, it was just them continually upping the stakes, getting
hmm
themselves into fights with bigger, stronger bullies. There's like a little preview thing at the end of the first episode. So you do see that he.
You see that he's fighting Pac-Go himself.
What did you think of the premise of the show, Tamika?
Well, it's an interesting premise. I will admit that it took a very long while for this first episode to really actually engage me. I'd say I was like I was kind of like, where the fuck is this actually going for like the entire first half? Uh, and then I was sort of more intrigued post accidental stream. I was like,
Yes,
oh.
that's definitely where it picks up. The ramen fight is a banger. It's when he takes control of his life.
And then the idea of them like going around and challenging bullies in the school, it kind of reminds me, there's like a lot of anime that are kind of in this genre. I mean, I haven't seen many of them where it actually is about just like students brawling.
Yeah,
I actually thought that like,
Windbreaker.
yeah, that's what I thought of. That I mean, I haven't seen much of Windbreaker, but like, I assume that Windbreaker moves in that kind of direction. And I've always, despite like having never consumed any of that, I've always been passively interested in that genre. I remember one time I wanted to make a comic that had a similar premise myself when I was a kid. I literally just called it Rumble School. But yeah, I don't know. I am intrigued. Although I'm wondering if I would prefer to just read the manhwa because I have mixed
Yeah.
feelings about how this show looks.
We were
Uh,
on such a good streak with the animation, and then you get this this thing. Yeah. No, it looks terrible. It looks like a bad hentai the way it's animated.
yeah, it's very stiff, and sometimes the characters. I mean, I imagine this is more of an art style preference thing, but sometimes they have like really creepy faces and stuff.
Yeah.
But like,
No, okay, so it's definitely true that the Uncanny Valley, it is very Uncanny Valley. I think that's partly a holdover from the manhwa, because the manhwa
hmm
is not exactly like the way the characters look is not very aesthetically pleasing either. But it still looks a lot better than the anime. Here, I actually have some pictures prepared that I'm gonna
that
send
will come
you.
up on the screen.
Yes, that will come up on the screen. So just look. I mean, honestly, it's almost like moving manga. Like what we got is pretty close to how this looks.
Yeah, that is pretty close.
It's more like they just have like the picture and they just move it around. Like when I was getting the clips for this episode. Oh wait, I just sent. When I was getting the clips for this episode, the clip I'm gonna go with is when he's smacking his face with the ramen. something during the ramen
I
fight.
have to say, I definitely prefer how this looks over the anime.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks better in the manga. It's not like it's definitely on the side of like some manga have this uncanny style, and I don't care for it. But yeah, it looks better than the anime. I should have gotten a picture of Paco. I want to compare how he looks in the manhwa because he is so he's really hard to look at in
I'm just saying that for a series that is like somewhat focused on action, making your characters move, like actually move, I'd say is like pretty important.
yeah. No,
Uh,
that what I was gonna say is in the clip, it's literally like 2 frames. There's like 2 or 3 frames of him smacking him with the ramen, and it just kind of fades in. It looks so bad.
yeah.
I would not watch Paco. Paco is very ugly.
He's also just like he reminds me of guys like Johnny Somali and all these IRL streamers, like one of the most obnoxious personalities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's proof. They ones just as obnoxious exist in real life.
Yeah.
Man, you can really tell though just by this picture that they use 3D models.
No, wait, which one? Oh
The
yeah,
last one I
I can
sent.
see that. Yeah,
Yeah, it almost looks like it is just a 3D model.
it might be. Incidentally, the studio that did this was the same studio that did Hidden Dungeon Only I Can Enter, which I think looks better than this, and How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, which I have not seen, but from the few clips I have seen, I also think looks better than this. They've done Tomodachi Game, which I think between the two of us,
Oh
only you have
yeah.
seen. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the season where you didn't watch like or you didn't remember like almost anything we watched. So I just
yeah.
told you about like 5 different anime. Yeah. I specifically remember talking about how ugly Tomodachi Game was. Oh, they did the my instant death ability is so overpowered, no one in this other world stands a chance against me.
I also looked at the director for this show, and this worked on. There's some noteworthy stuff on here, but he's mostly like an episode director and a storyboard artist. Like I don't. This might actually be like his first. Oh, it's not. He's actually done a few other directing gigs here, but he worked on Inuyasha and Eureka 7 and Oran High School Host Club, which I know nothing about, but I know is pretty popular.
Yeah, it
So
looks fine. Yeah, of the shows this studio has done, I'd say Viral Hit is probably the ugliest that I've seen.
I am with you on that one.
I mean, I feel like this is like starting to like I'm like witnessing in real time my anime knowledge expanding from doing the show because I've seen half of the shows the studio has done now.
Well, this studio hasn't done that many shows to begin with compared to some
Yeah,
of
but
the other
still,
studios.
just you're taking a random sampling of 10 shows, and I've seen 5 of them. Yeah, it's ugly. I'm pretty sure they did the same thing that I complained about on the solo leveling episode, where they like add a character just being there for a second to be like, "Ooh, look at this character that's gonna show up later." And they did the same thing that I hated in solo leveling, which is they kind of spoiled stuff by putting it there. They had they like showed the person watching their stream, and she was like, interesting,
Oh, what, the girl
intriguing.
with glasses
Yeah.
in the dark room?
It's like, ooh, what's the deal with these two? And but by doing
Was
that,
she the girl in the preview of the next episode? It looked like she had
uh
a similar hairstyle.
if she was, I don't think she like revealed herself where I was in the manhwa. But
Um,
it could be that she's like low key like a famous streamer. Oh, but I just they spoiled the reveal that they were streaming the whole time by showing a character watching the stream before the reveal.
oh yeah.
Why do they keep doing this? But I need to check the manhwa to make sure that didn't happen in the manhwa, but I'm pretty sure it didn't happen in the manhwa. Man, they're both pretty ugly. I mean, I guess they kind of spoil it by showing the camera. They like zoom out to show the camera and the manhwa is looking at them. However, they did add the girl watching, which they just need to stop. you're you're not. What did they think they're doing? But like, am I really gonna see the girl watching the stream and be like, "Oh, what's her deal? Whoa, that's pretty crazy."
No, they understand the audience. They're like, listen, we know half of you watch anime just because there's females in it, so we're gonna smash cut to this woman here to let you know that there will be a prominently featuring female character later on. The solo leveling example that you mentioned earlier, just saying,
Yeah,
it was also a female that they
this is
spoiled.
true. But they
What-
also spoiled the president. The president was the female wasn't really a spoiler. It was just like, oh, this is a chick that will not matter for like 50 chapters. So why is she here? The president, the chairman or whatever, that was a spoiler because they have like the slow reveal of him later, but they already showed his face.
They did not think that one through.
I honestly might watch more of this just because, like, I feel like it's a little too stressful for me to read, but I might be able to watch. I mean, I definitely think an interesting manhwa. It's a little bit upsetting because it's clearly like reflective of the wants of a new generation, and I don't think they're very good aspirations and wants. Kind of a boomer moment on my part.
You don't like it when them kids are like, I want to be a big famous YouTuber,
No, I do not.
even
I,
though we're making a podcast on YouTube.
this is weren't we just? Oh, we were just talking about this in the Jellyfish Don't Swim at Night.
Yeah,
It's the same thing again.
except I definitely would not get myself beaten up for YouTube.
I think I'm a little bit ahead of the game because I was a computer nerd before that was the norm.
Yeah.
I was looking at YouTube when I was a wee lad when it wasn't like everyone doing it. You, on the other hand, are a Zoomer, so that's just your people.
Snapper and Hoban should upload the fights onto World Star because that is where you post that kind of thing. World Star. You're familiar with that meme? That's an old
Nope.
meme. Oh, it's like when people are fighting and someone just like starts filming a fight and then they start screaming World Star because that's where like I guess there's more like a Black American thing.
Ah.
Then they upload it onto worldstar.com. I don't even know if WorldStar is still a thing, but
I like Snapper, by the way. I don't know what it is about him, but I find him a little bit charming.
damn, you like the guy that would screw over the proletariat. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I am kind like my middle school self was kind of similar to Snapper, unfortunately. Except I was such a little wiener that even the cool kids didn't like me, despite me trying to like knock other people down to climb the social ladder. But I don't think that's why. Well, I do like little wiener characters. I'm a Lars appreciator. I'm a Squidward appreciator. What was the deal with that voice though?
Oh,
He
when
did
he
like
had
a monster
the
voice.
demon voice.
That
Yeah,
was so weird.
that is probably not diegetic.
Yes. Or I don't know, maybe he's a demon.
Oh shit, that'd be an epic plot twist. During one of the bully fights, he's like, "Oh no, Hoban can't handle this guy. It's time for me to help him and tap into my demon powers and become the Demon King."
In like a vacuum, I'd probably give this like a 6 out of 10. But I'm not even sure it deserves that as like an adaptation because it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Why do all the manhwas get shafted in their adaptation? Like why
Well, I
is
mean,
Korea?
the thing with solo leveling is that solo leveling doesn't necessarily look terrible. Like,
Okay, yeah, solo
all
leveling
things
looks good,
considered, it's
but
actually a pretty good looking show.
yeah, but solo leveling is like one of the most popular manhwa of all time, so it makes
Yeah.
sense that it's gonna get a good adaptation. But all I'm saying is like, why is Korea even giving these away to Japan if Japan is just gonna make them look like dog shit? Just
Well,
I know you
they
have good
expect all of
animators
them to
there.
look like they expect all of them to come out looking like Tower of God and fucking well, I had some reservations about Tower of God's line art style, but it was an okay looking show in high school,
God of High School.
God of High School. Because I think
But
those were like the first manhwa adaptations to hit the scene done by Japanese animation studios. So like I guess it set like the standard in a lot of people's minds. So like whenever like manhwa publishers or whatever pass the rights, they kind of expect it to come out like that, and then it doesn't.
I'm just saying, like, I know and they know that they're capable of animating stuff pretty well. They
Well, they're
do,
doing Western cartoons.
yeah, they do half our animation in the West. They do a lot of Japanese animation too, air quotes Japanese animation. A lot of anime are have Korean animators on them, I'm pretty sure.
Dude, they
So
should get the guys who animated Ben 10 to fucking animate Viral Hit.
I'm sure it would be better than what we got.
I don't even know what studio that was. The thing with that is I don't know if it's necessarily that their animation is good because I know that a lot of people are like, well, the animation, like the conditions of the industry, whatever, is like very like workshop. So it's like kind of a hit or miss type of thing. But I guess so is regular anime.
They've got plenty of good studios there, clearly. So why don't they put the good studios on their own good material? Why are they adapting other countries' shit?
That's true.
So yeah, I don't know. I give it like a strong 5 to a light 6 because I'm docking points for it being an ugly adaptation. But then on the other hand, the manhwa is kind of ugly too, so you can't really be that mad at it. But they should. Why didn't they just animeify it? Why didn't they just do what every isekai does and not keep the art style?
I guess they just really wanted to do right by the source material, but then it didn't really manifest in a meaningful way.
Or they were too lazy to make their own character designs and they just traced them. All right, Coco. What did you think of this season?
I thought that this season, well, actually, I can't even make this comment because I can't even remember what came out last season. Because I was gonna say I feel like this season was better than the last, but then I can't. It's been so long, I can't fucking remember. I liked some of the shows we had this season. I liked Windbreakers. I was about to call it Windrush again. Uh, I liked well, I have
Wait, I was trying to type the social discharge and it auto completed to the social network.
damn, we're Facebook. And I have I'm curious about Reject Ranger. Oh, and I actually kind of liked I liked Viral Hit, but I just wish it was way better animated and I don't think I'm particularly keen on reading the manga either. So that's unfortunate. I was okay with that season.
We didn't talk about that many shows last season, excluding the isekai. Yeah, there was Solo Leveling, Chain Soldier,
Oh no
Delicious
no 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 no.
Dungeon,
Last season was better than this one. What am I even saying?
Rababi. I thought this season was one of the best we've ever watched. I don't know how that works in relation to like
Oh
the
wait,
Chainsaw Man
I forgot to
season
say Kaiju number 8.
because that season remains legendary. There's Chainsaw Man, Bochi, Blue, Blue, the soccer one,
Oh, are you talking about Blue Lock?
Blue Lock, yeah. And
Yeah.
then in terms of like obviously in terms of returns, that season was stacked. Uh, and this season is stacked in terms of returns because we got like Mushoku and is Slime this season or was that last season? I haven't watched it yet.
Was that Black Butler return this season? Or was that last?
No, that was this season, I think.
Uh,
But I don't think anyone gives a shit about it, do they? I hadn't heard about
no,
it
I've
at
not heard it.
all.
I knew it was there, but I haven't heard anyone talking about it at
I
all.
didn't know it was a thing until I saw it on Mal. I was like, "Oh, that looks like the character from Black Butler, but surely it's not him. Like that wouldn't make sense in the story for him to be back in another season."
No, but they brought it back specifically so that they can keep yaoi baiting, like they did with the original.
But this season, like, now that I'm like listing them off, most of those shows like were liked, but they weren't necessarily liked by me that much.
Hmm.
Like I liked Bochi, but this season, like Yeah, Kaiju number 8 was amazing from what we watched of it. Wind. Now I want to call it Wind Runner. What was it?
It's
Wind
Windbreakers.
Windbreaker.
Yeah.
Windbreaker. Even though I know I shat on it, but like Windbreaker was pretty good. It looked so damn good. Okay, in terms of animation, I think this might be the
The
best
fight
season we've ever had.
choreography was fucking. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you put it that way, this is the first time where only one of the shows that we watched was questionable in terms of its
Yeah,
quality. I was okay with most of the shows that we watched. I think most of the shows we watched looked pretty good.
they ranged from like acceptable to beautiful.
Was this season better than the Onimai season? There was a few good-looking shows that season. There was Onimai itself. There was
Inu Kai-san's dog. Beautiful
there
animation.
was Trigun Stampede. Actually, those are the only two now that I think about it, so never mind.
But I didn't like the animation in Trigun Stampede. I thought it looked kind of weird.
Huh. I actually thought that was one of the better looking CG shows until I found out that Ranking of Kings was CG, and then I was like, what the fuck?
Osama Ranking wasn't that season, was it? No, I would have
No,
remembered that.
it was not. It was not. I don't think we covered
Oh yeah,
Ranking of
I
Kings.
think Osama Ranking like maybe predates the social discharge.
Yeah, and not by much, surprisingly.
Maybe it was one of those off seasons that happened.
hmm So you'd say this is the most consistently good visually.
Yeah, and that almost not even in terms of visuals either, because also like of the shows we watched together, I liked every show we watched together.
hmm
I didn't like Remonster obviously, and yeah, there was like a couple of isekai that were just boring that I watched, but like that's because I was watching random isekai. That's different from like everything else was like popular shows this season, and they
Yeah,
all absolutely slapped. So, and Reject Ranger was also there, and it was good as well.
it sure was.
I'd give this season like an 8 on the whole, I think.
hmm
Just really good. Like, I'm not gonna watch more of End of the World Train, but almost everything else I'm planning on keeping up with. This might be like the most shows I've been planning to watch through in a season.
Man, I'm just looking at the seasonal chart right now for next season, and I feel like it's quite possible that it might be business as usual next time.
Damn.
But listen, I shouldn't assume yet.
I'm sorting by score. Oh,
Granted,
I need to sort by members. That's why. The top show was an ecchi show and I was so confused.
I don't think every show coming out next season has been announced yet. So yeah, I definitely shouldn't jump the gun on that one.
We're so late. There isn't much more time to be announcing things.
Oh
So
shit, that's true. Yeah, next season is probably business as usual then.
Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest?
Yes, it's based on well, the manga of the same name that Hiramashima has been making alongside Eden Zero. I would say that this makes Nate's video on Fairy Tail being dead age poorly, but the funny thing is, in that video, he acknowledges that it's being made, and in spite of the fact that it is a direct sequel and continuation of Fairy Tail Online, is like, nah, that doesn't count. It's a spin-off. Fairy Tail is dead, even though it very clearly isn't. So
I guess it just depends on the ratings.
Nate, if you're watching this, you're probably not, but if you are, you need to take that video down, dude. Zach Rittner was absolutely right. No one's gonna get the Zach Rittner memes.
I like to think that Best Guy Ever does watch every video of ours.
Yeah, he's like, man, I really want to go on that show one of these days. I hope they invite me.
Oh, we're getting that dog shit looking Isekai Suicide Squad show, which is definitely going to
Oh
be terrible.
yeah,
It's such a
yeah.
shameless attempt at being like, hello, fellow kids, or whatever.
But we're also getting the Pog anime next.
Wow, I like this promo image though.
Oh yeah, that does look pretty cool. It's too bad the show itself probably won't be.
Hmm.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they turn it around and it ends up being the best show of the season?
Hell, Nier is coming back? Did that
Yeah,
show even finish?
I
Wasn't
mentioned
that the one that like didn't finish?
I mentioned that yesterday. It's coming back.
Oh. Oh, there's the ecchi show that thought was at the top but wasn't. Uh, yeah, I mean, next season looks terrible. I don't see a single show I'm interested in.
That's what I'm saying, bro. This does not look.
I feel like usually when I go through and make like the list, I see like a few shows that look interesting because
Yeah,
I'm forced to look in more detail. But
yeah, same. Every time when we near the new season, I pretty much like preemptively put like some of the shows in my plan to watch, but there is nothing here that I want to put in my plan to watch.
my point is like just looking at it, I feel that way. But when I'm copying and pasting every show's title and then like having to go get the URL and click on it, I feel like
Yeah.
I always manage to find stuff that I didn't see before.
Like you're not just judging based off the title and poster and shit.
Yeah, I'm forced to actually read the description a little bit.
Yeah. Well, listen, it might be a surprise indeed. It very well could be.
Doubt.
We'll just have to wait and see. Honestly, if it wasn't for plump elf, chubby elf, and Suicide Squad Isekai, I'd be like, yeah, we can totally sit this one out, right? We can totally just. But yeah. Anyways, we'll
What,
see.
you aren't hyped for Isekai Yururi Kiko, which is about a god suddenly prostrating in front of Kayano Takumi. He was apparently killed by a mistake. Moreover, he can't be reborn again. However, according to God, he would be able to live in a different world. You aren't hyped for that, Coco?
No.
Damn.
But the relationship between him and his daughters might be wholesome if they don't sexualize it.
Yeah, they are cute in the thumbnail.
And you know anime, there's like a 60-40 chance. 60% that they won't. I'm actually being generous, but
They don't look sexualized to me, at least from the thumbnail.
yeah,
They're actually very cute.
good. Well, that sure has been a seasonal discharge.
Yeah, it was a banger. Any final thoughts?
Anime is a Japanese colloquialism.
Anime is the best. I love anime. I am Arlon. I have a YouTube channel that I've never posted to that I will link in the description. My TikTok is in the description. And what of you, Coco?
You can find me on YouTube, and Kick and Twitter. I guess that's where I'm mainly squatting these days. Help me get to 75 followers on Kick so I can make money. But yeah, that's where you can follow me.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? Fuck it. Follow me on Twitch as well.
Yeah. Even though, do you actually stream to Twitch?
No, I do not. I'm thinking about it though.
Interesting. Well, I think you'd probably have a harder time on Twitch than Kick because you've got that smaller pool to work with on Kick.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Everyone say bye.
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 His name's Zolo. He's just like a samurai.